All right, everybody, welcome to this edition of the Below the Yellow Line podcast, the show where we discover that Austin Hill is secretly the adult version of Bobby Hill. We got the usual panel on. We got Danny, Joe, and of course, me, Velocity, and we got special guests, Tim Mennecke, local short track racer, one of the future stars of NASCAR.
Thank you. That's an awesome intro. You pronounced my last name wrong, but other than that, I liked it.
Yeah, I'm really bad when it comes to names.
Well, the key word is future star. So you know what? I'm not even going to get mad at you because the track announcer at Madeira did the same thing. And so it's okay. I'm used to it. It's all right.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Well, we got an action-packed episode for you guys tonight. We got NASCAR. They went to Mid-Ohio for the Xfinity Series, and obviously the truck had the regular season finale at Michigan and the Cup race for the second time in Michigan. And we'll also be talking about the latest news, especially with the Red Bull announcement with Pierre Gasly and Alexander Albon. And, of course, we'll be talking about the upcoming race weekend. So let's get
action-packed, hectic, crazy racing at Michigan and Mid-Ohio, especially for the Truck Series, where the playoffs are now set to begin these last 10 races. And, wait, it's 6 races. Well, screw it.
the truck races, playoffs is 7.
Yeah.
Matt Crafton survived. Austin Hill survived. And lots of disappointing drivers. I think Todd Gilliland for sure. Ben Rhodes, Harrison Burton. Guys, let's start with Todd Gilliland. What went wrong this year in the regular season?
I think it's a sophomore slump. I mean, we've seen it with drivers before in the past. Obviously, Kevin Harvick in 2002. Even Kyle Larson in 2015.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Pierre Gasly actually this year. So I think he's just having a sophomore slump. So that's probably what's getting wrong. That's probably what's wrong. But if you're driving for college motorsports, like sophomore slumps aren't acceptable.
Yeah, it's like, what can you do at this point, other than try to do better, like for the last few races of the season in the Truck Series.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, Todd Gilliland was ready, and he did nothing wrong. Just inconsistent results. He ultimately paid the price, and Harrison Burton as well. I think they both have potential. This isn't career breaking to each of these drivers. I just think that if you're Harrison Burton or Todd Gilliland, you can learn from this and recover, whether it's next year or in the races in the playoffs where you can beat those playoff drivers and win a race for the sake of finding victory lane. Go for it because you have nothing to lose.
Tim, what do you think about no KBM trucks in the playoffs?
I think it's good for the sport. I do. I really do. I mean, I know that may sound bad.
Definitely means no leeches.
I might shoot myself in the foot here in any future chance at KBM, but I mean, no, I really do. I really think, I go back to, I kind of bring myself back to when I was a kid and a teenager, and I was really, really, really invested as a fan and a spectator. I'm still a fan of racing in general, but, I always remember once we started having like MySpace and online kind of forums where you could interact with other people. I always remember the older ones always excited when a big name driver didn't make it or wasn't doing well. And now I know why, because you get tired of the same thing. So I think it's good for the sport. I think that there's going to be a lot of competition, and I think KBM is going to be just fine. They're going to come back next year and, they'll probably win a championship, but I'm sure they're really disappointed,
right.
But I do think it's good for the fans. I think it's good for the sport. I think it's going to be entertaining, and it really shows you the level of competition in racing. I mean, for NASCAR specifically, it's got to be one of the toughest sports where the fans are just really, really harsh critics. No matter what NASCAR does, they're not happy. And I think that it shows that the level of competition is high.
And sponsors really do, like, let's say, for instance, if you call up to a sponsor and they say, okay, they will sponsor you for this season. They're gonna really keep an eye on you to see if you are really that person. Besides, of like a moral person of morality, you know.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think they can recover. They're able to redeem at any time, but they were just unstable. If you
Right.
remember 2017 or 2016 and 17, you had Christopher Bell in the Ford truck putting up results, finishing up strong, and he won the title in 2017, just like Eric Jones did the 2 years prior in 2015. And I just don't see that same sturdiness of a caliber driver in Todd Gilliland, but there's potential. Trust me, there is. Well, let's talk about the Truck Series playoffs and the grid we have going into the round of 8. Brent Moffitt is the first seed. Grant Enfinger minus 3 points. Stuart Friesen minus 8. Ross Chastain minus 10. Austin Hill minus 10. 6th, 7th, and 8th is Crafton, Johnny Sauter, and Tyler Ankrum. First race of the round of 8 will be at Bristol this weekend.
I think this is going to be the first race to truly see. I want to talk about Johnny Sauter for a second. He's had a bad year. Like for Johnny Sauter, I mean, last year before the playoffs started, I believe he had like 5 or 6 wins going into the playoffs, and then this year he's won Dover, and he's been really bad. I mean, he only has 7 top 10s on the season. His average finish, I think, is outside the top 10. So, but he's really good at Bristol. So this race will really see like is Johnny Sauter like still is actually in contention for this championship, or is he going to be eliminated after round 1?
I don't know, but I gotta say happy birthday to Jesse Wuji. I totally forgot.
I almost forgot it's his birthday today.
It's his birthday today. I'm wearing his shirt.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right, happy birthday,
Jesse. If you listen, we're going to talk about Johnny Sauter's struggles this year, but I said happy birthday. So I got that.
Your birthday present.
So here's my take about Sauter. I think backtrack to June for a moment.
Okay.
About 2 months ago, I called the Let's Talk NASCAR radio show, and they're from the Midwest, where Johnny Sauter is from. And I said that Sauter is in a stage of his career that we may not see before. We have never seen this kind of Johnny Sauter, especially in the return to ThorSport this season and that late deal. And that very same day, he made the move on Austin Hill. It was Austin Hill under the caution flag that got him suspended from Gateway. I don't know. I think Sauter's disorganized more than not this season.
He's in the playoffs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He's, I believe, 7th in points.
I don't want to be a downer, but I got a feeling he'll get knocked out of the second round.
Here's my take on it. It seems like there's always that. It seems like with any driver, there's always there's one thing that happens that could basically completely derail their season. You look at Sebastian Vettel last year when he crashed out of Germany. You could say that's when everything came crashing down, even though he won, I believe, twice after that.
Yeah.
Joey Logano, 2017, after he got his encumbered win at Richmond, the whole season came crashing down. Alexander Rossi, even though he won 2 more races in the season, that mistake at Detroit cost him the championship. So I think we're seeing the same with Johnny Sauter. That move on Austin Hill getting suspended, can't really explain it. Like, it just completely derailed the team, in my opinion. Because how many times has Johnny Sauter finished in the top 10 since that suspension?
Dang, man.
I don't know. You're going to have to Google that one.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, someone's got to look that up. Because
I got it.
You're trying to do Instagram shout-outs and stuff. I finished eating. I was like...
Okay, Johnny Sauter in 2018 for the Truck Series. Oh, wait. 2019.
Going back in time.
Oh, okay. Don't at me. Since Iowa, his finishes have been 18th, 10th, 8th, 21st, 12th. Only 2 top 10 since the incident from Iowa.
Dang. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's just a complete turnaround from last season. I mean, last season he was honestly, no question, the best driver. He didn't win the championship, but he had like an average finish of like 6. And then this season, like, he's just been irrelevant ever since Dover.
I wish I could watch as much as you guys. I'm
Well, I mean-
serious. I couldn't tell you that stuff. I have to look it up.
All right, so as for the Michigan race, sorry to interrupt you, Armani, but let's talk about the top 10 in the race itself before we head off this route. Austin Hill scores his second career win and back-to-back victories for Shiggy Hattori's Truck Series team at Michigan. Last year, of course, Brett Moffitt beat Johnny Sauter by inches to win for Shiggy, but this year was Austin Hill. Sheldon Creed with another second-place finish. Tyler Dipple, career best of 3rd. Brett Moffitt, 4th. Austin Wayne Self, a top 5. Good for him. Bailey Curie, best career finish of 6th. Grant Enfinger, Stuart Friesen, Ray Cicerelli, career best finish of 9th. And Matt Crafton, 10th.
Interesting top 10.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I didn't watch the race, so I don't know. Like, I know Crafton got into Ankrum, and then basically all DJ Crosley died after that.
Including Natalie Decker. Quack, quack, quack.
I mean,
Uh-oh.
that's no surprise.
Oh,
Yeah, not surprised about it, but oh well.
I didn't say it. That you guys said it.
Yep, everyone on the podcast knows I'm a harsh critic of Natalie Decker and Brandon Jones.
Okay.
Except the fact that Brandon Jones is doing good and Armani is like nowhere to be found.
I've acknowledged when he does good. When he finished top 5 in Chicago, I said, "Good job, Brandon Jones. Now keep it up." Still hasn't done it. But yeah, so that's an interesting top 10. I thought Moffitt would have gotten it, honestly. But good for us. Actually, I saw Austin Hill had the most laps, so I guess he was fairly dominant. I didn't watch the race, so I don't really know exactly what happened. So, but yeah, it seemed like he was fairly dominant at the end of the stage. So, from what I didn't see the entire race, but for what I did see, it was all right. You know, it wasn't bad. I want to talk about though, like we talked about Sauter in the playoffs. We talked about who missed out on it. Let's talk about who we think are going to be actual threats for the championship, and who's just going to be out. Like who we think is just going to be an easy exit. Obviously, as for easy exits, I think it's going to be Sauter and Ankrum. I think they're going to be out round 1.
Yeah, Sauter. Here's my take. There are 3 different tracks and 3 races. You have Bristol, you have Moss Sport, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Here's the good. If you're a road racer, like, for example, let's just say you're Brett Moffitt or Grant Enfinger, you have that rich experience on the road courses, you might have the advantage. Or even Matt Crafton. Matt Crafton and Grant Enfinger. Let's just say this. Both of those guys, they ran the Michelin Pilot Challenge events this season, which is like the minor league to the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship.
Right.
So I think Enfinger might have the advantage going into Mosport. But then Vegas, Enfinger won last year, so he might get back-to-back wins. Anything goes. There's 3 races, 3 different tracks.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, but for anyone who's knowing where Timmy went, his internet went out, so he's trying to reboot it right now.
Oh, that's
So, all right, he's got it back, so he'll be back shortly.
all right.
All right,
Let's
but
go.
continue.
So further into the playoffs, after the round of 8, 2 drivers get eliminated. The 7th and 8th seed are gone. So round of 6, we head to Talladega Super Speedway, which of course is an anything goes type of environment, just wild card atmosphere. Keep the truck clean, and hopefully you'll stay up front and get a good finish. And then Martinsville, short track. and ISM. Final four at Homestead. In
All
case
right,
you're new
so-
to NASCAR, Final Four works like this. Highest of the 4 drivers, champion. 1 race.
All right, so here's my take on here's who I think is going to happen in the playoffs. I think Sauter and Ankrum are out of round 1. They're just not consistent enough to actually
Yeah,
be threats for the
definitely.
championship. As for the top 6, only 5 of them I feel are actually going to have a shot at competing for actually championship contenders. That being Brett Moffitt, Grant Enfinger, Matt Crafton, Stuart Friesen, and Ross Chastain. Those 5 have been the best drivers all season long. Austin Hill, I mean, he's too inconsistent. Like, he has good runs, but he's too inconsistent
Right.
to perform for a championship. So I think he's good enough for I think he'll make it to the second round. I think just because Johnny Sauter has been doing just in such a downward spiral that he'll be out of it. And Ankrum, he's in his rookie season. I mean, he's not doing bad, but he's just not, performing to the level of a championship. So I think Sauter and Ankrum are out of round 1. Round 2, I'm going to go with Austin Hill. And I picked him for the championship a couple weeks back, but I'm changing my mind. I think round 2 will be Austin Hill and Grant Enfinger.
Yeah.
Because it's round 2, it's the round of 6. It's that time where it's you need to start showing winning speed. And Grant Enfinger, yeah, he's very, very consistent, but he just hasn't won. And I don't see it happening in the round of 6 either. So my final 4 is Brett Moffitt, Stuart Friesen, Ross Chastain, and Matt Crafton. And out of those 4, because Chastain has arguably been the best driver. You can make an argument which of those 4 have been the best driver all season. I think it's Chastain, but I think because Moffitt has that experience at Homestead, especially because how he won that race last year, I think he's going to go back to back. What do you guys think?
I see it like this. Brett Moffitt was driving in adversity last year for a team that didn't know if they were going to make it the next race, where sponsorship was a rarity.
Problem.
He worked twice as hard. That extra incentive of, am I going to race next week, helped Moffitt exceed with the adrenaline he has. Now, granted, 2019 is much better for a financial-wise season for Brett Moffitt when he's a GMS, despite that one race, I think it was Pocono, they had a blank truck. I see enthusiasm, I see maturity, and I see results. Brett Moffitt is my pick to win the championship.
Danny, what do you think?
I honestly gotta say, I gotta go with the underdog to win the championship. Ross Chastain. Well, I wouldn't call him an underdog for some reason. I would say he's been very consistent in the truck series now that he's running full time. And I think he could get it done at Homestead this year.
I can see that. Yeah. I would say Watermelon Man. Watermelon Man's going to win a championship. I love his story. I love his tenacity. We talk about overcoming adversity. I mean, a lot of people don't know that guy has been racing since, 2013, I think. I mean, years, and not competitively, of course, or to the caliber he's been racing now. But that dude is what NASCAR needs. And I guess I'm biased in wanting him to win. But I look at the sport from when I started watching and to, what it became and then to where it is now. And we need drivers like Ross Chastain to win and to win championships.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a watermelon farmer. You don't look at.
And pretty much he's an underdog.
Yeah. I mean, especially with Nice Motorsports. I mean, he's out there running around with blank trucks sometimes too. But, so I don't want to like date myself. I'm not that old, but I started watching racing in the mid to late 90s. So kind of like when it was taking off, with Jeff Gordon being in the sport and everything. And obviously Jeff Gordon is my favorite driver. But, you look at who becomes a NASCAR driver now, and I don't want to talk bad about anybody. Obviously, it takes talent to be behind the wheel of that race car, no matter who you are. But it's drivers' sons or drivers' nephews or nieces, or you know what I'm saying? They have some kind of connection to the sport's top-tier drivers from the 90s,
Right.
80s, and early 2000s. And now we're watching their kids just take the mantle. And even if they're not a driver's kid, they're someone who's involved with the racing organization at Hendrick or Gibbs. You look at Joey Logano. Joey Logano was kind of the first kid that had a family member whose parent was involved with a top tier organization, and he got put in really good equipment. And I'm not saying he's not talented, but it costs a lot of money. So, when you have every race car driver in the series almost in all three series having some relative who works at one of the big teams or has a lot of money behind them or owns, Ream, no offense to
Right.
you know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I know. I know.
It's tough as a spectator to watch and get excited because you're like, yeah, they have talent. They can handle a car and drive a car. But how much of it, where they're at, is it money and connections compared to, busting their ass and making it? I mean, you look at the Intimidator, Dale Earnhardt. I don't think he really took off until he was, 28? I mean, he was in his late 20s. And he lost how many houses and divorces?
Dropped out of high school.
Yeah, he dedicated his life to it. And I understand
He made it work.
Yeah,
He
I
made it
understand
work.
the sport is different today, and it will probably never go back to the days where Dale Earnhardt
Exactly.
and Jeff Gordon were there. But I think guys like Ross Chastain, and I'm biased again with Jesse Iwuji because he's a good buddy of mine, but I think the sport needs those kind of guys. They do.
It's a never give up story.
Yes.
It's just hard work and dedication and just
Yes.
putting your all to it because there's nothing easy about it. Nothing.
I mean, he said it himself. I'm a watermelon farmer. I'm not supposed to win these things. But it's his passion. It's an obsession. I think about Conor McGregor's quote all the time where he says, this isn't talent. This is an obsession. I don't believe in talent. If you're obsessed and you want something good enough, you can get it. And that's what Ross Chastain does. And guys like Jesse Iwuji coming in the sport and Greg Lohorn, who's trying to make his way up through the series. All these guys, I think the sport needs that because it shows people who have this obsession, but they might not have the financial capabilities or the relatives who work at these bigger teams that, hey, I can do it, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try. And if I fail 9,000 times, I'm eventually going to succeed if I want it bad enough. So I pick Ross Chastain. He's on fire. He's winning every race. I don't even need to watch the races because I know he's going to win.
Yeah.
I hide my watermelons. I mean, and I hide the watermelons in the house because I know Watermelon Man is taking that to victory lane. And I think it's amazing for the sport. Like I said, with KBM not making it, and as unfortunate as that is, because I'm not close friends with Todd Gilliland or anything, but my first ARCA truck race at Toledo, I think was his first ARCA car race back in 2015 at Toledo. And I was kind of pitted near him and talked with him and his dad for a little bit. So I like him. I go for him. But, I think it's good for the sport when you don't have big money teams making it. And you have guys that you don't often really hear of competing and being competitive for a championship. And I hope Chastain takes it.
Yeah.
If Ross Chastain wins a championship, that would really be the back-to-back underdog teams in NASCAR winning. Obviously, Hattori, I mean, think about it. People don't realize that in 2018, they say, oh, Hattori Racing had such a great season in 2018. Like, in 2017, they didn't win a race or they didn't even make the playoffs that season with Ryan Truex. So for them to come in 2018 to go ahead and win the championship is amazing. And even now with Austin Hill, they're fourth in the standings right now with 2 wins. So it could be very similar to Nice Motorsports. I mean, last year they weren't competitive. They didn't make the playoffs. They didn't even win. And now this year with Ross Chastain, they already got 3 wins on the season, and they're arguably the favorites to win the championship. So it would be another great story for both Ross Chastain and the team, especially with how Ross Chastain's got screwed over at Ganassi. It would be amazing to see just like this comeback.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it just shows, hard work and dedication and obsession. I mean, they DC Solar practically ended Brendan Poole's career.
Yeah.
I mean, and they almost, ended Ross's, and I wouldn't be upset if Hattori Racing got out and won. I like to comment on their Instagram because I speak Japanese. So every time they make an Instagram post, I just comment in Japanese, and I don't know who runs their account, but I don't think they speak Japanese because they just like it. They'll like write back with emojis. But I think it would be good for Hattori Racing, but I just don't think anybody can really beat Chastain. I mean, he has been on fire late, and he's been consistent. I think that he's got it. I mean, I guess you could say maybe the pressure will get to him or something, but I just can't see that happening. I mean, this guy is a David versus Goliath story.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's beating them week in, week out. He's competitive week in, week out. There's not a single track that he can't race at. He's obviously good behind the wheel, and I think the fans really want him to win. If you don't want Ross Chastain to win,
You need your head examined.
yeah.
Yeah.
You got into the sport too
or-
late, and you're probably really young, and so you like the whole guys with Monster energy drinks and
Yeah,
all
you're probably
that.
rooting for Brandon Jones for some reason.
Yeah,
I'm not going to
yeah,
talk bad about anybody.
let's take a look at the comments here. Soul Vibe said, sometimes passion can fuel your fire. And I like your perspective, Tim.
Thank you. I mean, that's what it's about. You need money to race. You do. It's a given. You have to have money to race. And, even Ross Chastain and these kind of underfunded teams that can be competitive, it still requires a ton of money. But what it shows is that, you don't need to be in top tier equipment to be competitive and make a name for yourself. And that's what racing kind of is all about, is not the whole fame and fortune aspect of it. That'd be great to make a living racing, but racing is always about wanting to win, and you want to beat that everybody else who's competing with you. And so,
Exactly.
what comes with that is I mean, it's just, that's what it's about. That's what the sport needs. That's what NASCAR really needs. I don't care what anybody says about how NASCAR is not declining. It is. It has declined from its peak. If you want to go just off raw data, that's great. But I don't go just off raw data because I think 2007 was like their best year. There's no way in the world 2007 was the best year for NASCAR. I mean, just being a fan watching from the 90s, I don't even remember what happened in 2007, but I know it wasn't a good year for him. And so what racing, it goes back to the roots of making a name for yourself, competing and beating everybody else out on the track, and not, well, my dad works, as a shop engineer for this. And so when I was in a go-kart at 6 years old, we were in like a $15,000 go-kart racing against kids in a $500 go-kart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it just, so I think it's great for the sport. I really do. And it gives me hope. I mean, I'm a 28-year-old dude who's trying to fulfill my dream. And so, yeah, I'm a little biased because I look at it and say, hey, it's possible.
Yeah.
It is. So.
And it ain't too late to start chasing your dreams, man.
Never.
Never
No,
too
absolutely
late.
not. So, anyways, to answer your question, Ross Chastain's my pick. We went down the rabbit hole there of like why I'm upset with NASCAR. But, that's why I don't know as much either, because I'm going to be frank. I stopped watching. And if you went to my high school way back in the day and you asked anybody that went to school with me, will Tim Mennecke ever stop watching NASCAR? They would laugh in your face. I mean, if I wasn't wearing a Green Bay Packers jersey, I was wearing a Jeff Gordon jacket.
Bro, it's the same thing with me here in New York, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in high school or like in middle school when I first came here, right? And I watched NASCAR when I started watching NASCAR fully when I came here, and I was obsessed with it. And even my teachers were like, when will you ever stop watching NASCAR? I'm like, never, because this is what I really like,
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm passionate about. Just the sport in general, the good vibes, the good people, You know, this is what it's all about. If you're not a fan, then that's fine.
Yeah, Tim, you hit it right in the head when you talk about like passion, because it's like I truly think that NASCAR is some of the most passionate fan sport, because it's like, listen, the driver Denny Hamlin's complained about like how the drivers don't get paid that much, but that just shows you the dedication and the passion that these drivers have to go out and prove why they're the best on the track. I mean, there's 40 drivers on track. Only one of them could be the winner, and all of them want to prove to be that they are the best
and that they belong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I don't know the comments that you're specifically stating. I mean, I would, if Denny Hamlin wants to switch paychecks with me, I'd be more than happy to switch roles and paychecks.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've seen Denny Hamlin's house, and I know where Denny Hamlin has come from, you know, and he was recognized by Dale Jr. back in the day when iRacing, before there was like a big thing. I mean, and that's, you know, that's what's crazy about it is in the mid 2000s, like, I remember my brother making paint schemes for guys in sim racing, and they used to have to use this. It was a really weird, like Shanghai stuff that they did, but they would race in NASCAR Racing 2003, but they would use the iRacing track, so you had to download the plugin data. It was all this weird stuff, and like I don't think we ever really thought that it would go anywhere. But Denny Hamlin would race, and then Junior started racing online, and you know Denny was good. So I don't know the comments you're talking to, but if he wants to switch with me, that'd be great. I'll take his pay any day. But I'm sure he has a valid point. I mean, if you compare it to other sports stars, no. But then again, you have to look at how much money do other sports bring in. You know, I mean, other sports, even with the NFL Neilgate or whatever you want to call it, I think they're still like creaming NASCAR when it comes to merchandise sales.
Oh yeah.
And part of it, you know, not to be like, I don't know, too kind of far out there, but part of it is the drivers.
Yeah.
And it's every driver is the same. I mean, I hate to be this way because I don't want to talk bad about a sport I'm trying to get into because obviously you don't ever want to do that. I'm not even in the sport. I'm like trash talking it. I seal my fate. I'm never making it. I'm going to race in iRacing. I'll probably get banned from that too. But you know, every driver is the same. And I know that you can't replace a Bobby Labonte, a Terry Labonte, a Dale Earnhardt, a Jeff Gordon, a Rusty Wallace, even a Darrell Waltrip. You cannot replace those guys.
Yeah.
But what did they all have I guess in common was personality, but they were so different, you know. And now where you have the sport where it does cost so much money, you know, the companies and corporations run NASCAR and they want their drivers to talk a certain way and walk a certain. Everybody wanted to be the next Jeff Gordon. But now everybody is the next Jeff Gordon, and not in the sense of his driving abilities and his championships and race wins, but in his personality and how the way he dresses. Everybody wears the same kind of glasses. Everybody wears the same hat. They say the same thing. And I think, I don't know how much of that was NASCAR versus how much of it was sponsors not wanting to get involved with a kind of a PC culture as we've progressed here in America a certain way. But it's so far gone from its roots that it's nauseating. I mean, you know, and so when you don't have a personality as a driver, you don't have fans that are like dead set 100% on that driver. I think Jimmy Johnson is the last real driver that has like a legitimate hardcore fan base. And when he leaves the sport, one of two things is going to happen. We're either going to go back to the way it was and then it will be made great again eventually at some point, or it's just going to become something like a mix between motocross and Formula One. And I just don't see it being entertaining. The aspect of racing is great, but if you want to get paid more, you got to sell more T-shirts and merchandise. You got to have rivalries. You can't even like yell at another driver, you know, because they just get too wound up about it. So there's a lot that I agree with Denny Hamlin on, I guess, but there's a lot that Denny Hamlin and the other drivers can do to kind of make that happen. But you never know.
To go back on the rivalry thing, I notice this a lot, especially with NASCAR media. I can tell that NASCAR is really desperate to try to get a rivalry to form. I mean, just to name some examples, Daniel Suarez and Michael McDowell at Phoenix earlier this year, or ISM. I'm just going to call Phoenix. I don't get paid by them to say their name.
Yeah.
At Phoenix, They had their scuffle after qualifying, and NASCAR ran with it for like 2 weeks. Then Jimmy Johnson and Ryan Blaney, they've been running with it. Same thing with Bubba Wallace and William Byron. I mean, you look at NASCAR on Fox and Instagram, most of their posts will be about the rivalries. Like, oh, is this gonna grow? Is this gonna grow? I think that just shows that NASCAR, especially NASCAR media, is desperate to try to get another rivalry out there, like a Dale Earnhardt versus Jeff Gordon, or like a Jimmy Johnson versus Jeff Gordon, or like a Kyle Busch versus Brad Keselowski, or Kyle Busch versus Dale Jr. I think the closest thing we might have to a rivalry is probably we really don't even have a rivalry now in NASCAR nowadays. I think maybe Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson, but it's like Busch has just outdone Larson so many times that it's like that's probably the closest thing we got in terms of a rivalry, besides the couple, like scuffles here and there.
It can't be artificial. You cannot create a rivalry. Being a Jeff Gordon fan when it was extremely unpopular to be a Jeff Gordon fan. And believe it or not, it became popular to be a Jeff Gordon fan towards the end. And I went to his last race at Homestead, and never in my life have I had junior and senior fans coming up to me saying, thanks for everything your driver did. I'm sure we gave you hell, not even just 2 years ago, but we're going to miss him. And I mean, I'm sitting at Homestead with my Jeff Gordon shirt, like almost crying because, these are the same people that would throw beer cans at you if you went to a race in a Jeff Gordon. I mean, it was not a good thing to be a Jeff Gordon fan, but there were so many of us. There's only so many people you can throw the beer cans at.
Yeah, and it's got to be like the same thing with Johnson. With his dominance, like in the early
I hated Jimmy Johnson.
Like winning so many races, everybody started hitting him. Like, please, just give us a break. And I was enjoying it. I'm sitting back here enjoying it.
No, I hated him. And I remember Gordon fans were saying Hendrick was giving him better equipment. And that's another reason why I don't like the chase or playoffs, because I think Gordon is a 7-time champion if you go under the old point system. But you can quote me on that too. I just don't think – I think it's artificial. And people want to tell me, well, we used to know who the champion was 3 weeks before it was over, but the stands were still full. I still watched the race. You can't create artificial entertainment. I mean, you just can't. Like, it's the same thing with the stages. It's artificial. It's the same thing with the cameras running up to the car on the start-finish line. Like, there was just a poise about going to victory lane. And now when you win, like, you got to park the car on the track. And Kevin with his son Keelan was cool and all, but like the cameras rush him. Like I feel like I'm watching a motocross event, and I don't know how much of that is Monster, or how much of it is NASCAR just that desperate to retain young fans.
And Monster Energy actually does AMA Supercross, but we'll talk about that later, Joe.
Yeah, I just and I like I said, I don't want to trash talk a sport and this kind of series that I'm trying to get in, because my lifelong dream is to be a NASCAR driver, but I stopped watching NASCAR because it stopped being NASCAR.
Yeah.
The reason there was such a Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt rivalry was because, and like I said, it can't be duplicated, but let's take away the whole Southern roots, work hard, a man's man, Dale Earnhardt. He had a mustache. He was fucking. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm supposed to cuss.
You can.
Oh, okay. I slipped. I don't mean to. I can't believe
no censorship here.
It's taken me 40 minutes to cuss, so I'm doing pretty damn good.
Don't worry, it took me like a minute.
But it's like he was a brawny Southern man, and the tenacity, like we talked about, divorce, losing his house, dropping out of high school to race, and he finally made it, and he won. And he was winning and winning and winning. And along comes the 100% polar opposite. I mean, I think Jeff Gordon back in the early 90s, he had a mullet and a mustache too, but he could be categorized as like a metrosexual. Back in the 90s, like when he broke into the sport, I think he was considered a metrosexual. Like he trimmed his hair and stuff, and that was unheard of. And he comes in and he wins and wins and wins. And if it wasn't Gordon, it was an Earnhardt. And peppered in there was a Rusty Wallace or a Labonte or a Skinner or somebody, who was around at that time. And the fans of Dale Earnhardt hated seeing Jeff Gordon win, and the fans of Jeff Gordon hated seeing Dale Earnhardt Sr. win. And that was the rivalry. You can't just create that because you have a veteran and a young gun get into it on a road course race. Right. And he didn't, and like Ryan Blaney didn't call and apologize. That's not going to create adversity. And first off, I'm going to be frank here. How many fans does Ryan Blaney have? You know what I'm saying? Like, to have a rivalry, you have to have enough fans to care about the driver. I guess Kyle Busch has a lot, and Kyle Larson. I like Kyle Larson. He's a cool dude. But you don't have the fan base to the extent that Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Sr. had. And without that, without a huge fan base for both drivers, you will not have a rivalry. It's just not possible. I mean, I think even you look at Brad Kay and Kyle Busch back in a couple of years ago, you know, how many of those fans were not fans of either of them, but they were a Junior fan or a Gordon fan, and we just wanted to take our pick and say, I support this guy. You know, so I don't think that you can create a rivalry. I think NASCAR needs a rivalry, but I think it needs to be natural, and it will just happen if it's meant to happen. They need to stop making it like trying to artificially produce one, because it comes off, and I hate to be like
naturally.
It comes off cringe when you're trying to promote something that no one cares about. And literally, no Jimmy Johnson fans feel threatened by Ryan Blaney. No. Like, what is Ryan Blaney going to do? Dethrone Jimmy Johnson? This guy's a 7-time champion. He's won I don't know how many races. 84 now. You know, I lost track because he wins so damn much. And I feel for the Johnson fans. Yeah. I was laughing this morning because I saw that like Clint Boyer and Ryan Newman were in the chase, and Jimmy Johnson and I think Suarez or someone else were out of it. And I was just crying laughing because all I could think about was in like the late kind of 2000s with Jeff Gordon struggling, and when he didn't make the chase, and how devastated I felt, because I was like, no, it's Jeff Gordon. There's no way Jeff Gordon doesn't qualify for a championship. And so I feel for them, because like it brings me back to being a teenager and just crying on race weekend when Jeff Gordon didn't win or he couldn't, you know, compete for the championship. But you know, he's done so much for the sport. So no, I don't feel that Team Jimmy or Jimmy Johnson Nation feels threatened in any way by Ryan Blaney.
No, they don't. We don't care. It's like, okay,
yeah, exactly.
So you have to care. You have to feel threatened. Yeah. Earnhardt Sr. fans were threatened by Jeff Gordon, and Jeff Gordon fans were threatened by Earnhardt Sr. because he could beat Jeff Gordon, and his fans could probably beat our asses because there were so many of them.
They were 20 years apart in age, literally 20 years apart. 1951, 1971.
Yeah. Like polar opposites. That's what NASCAR needs. But both of them, you know, you look at Jeff Gordon, and whether you believe in talent or not, he didn't even come from money. He didn't. And he didn't want a thing to do with NASCAR until he went to the Buck Baker Driver's School. And then that one dude, I think they had to put pillows in his seat because the guy was so fat. But Jeff Gordon ran quick lap times and was like, all right, let's do it. You know, but he didn't come from money either. He came from winning and beating everyone on the track. And no matter what that dude has sat in, he can win in. And I think, you know, they just had their own individual personality that you either liked or you didn't like. And when I love and respect Earnhardt Sr. for what he did for the sport, but I can tell you this much as a Jeff Gordon fan, I hated the way he raced Jeff Gordon on the track. I loved it when he raced someone else that way, but the minute he got to Jeff Gordon's bumper,
it's like, okay, get out. Don't.
Yeah, I was like, Jeff, just pull over and brake and then spin him. You know, like, and I was a kid back in those days, but you just love to watch him race. But the minute he got to your driver, you knew this is not going to be good. And I think, you know, personality wise, Clint Boyer. I know he's really liked in the garage with his personality. I think that's good for
Clint Boyer is the funny mess, man.
Yeah, he's funny.
The funniest guy in the garage is Clint Boyer.
But he's not competitive like, you know, if he was competitive week in, week out and had his personality compared to like a stale, I don't know, maybe like a Kyle Busch, because he has personality too. It's just Kyle Busch turns a lot of people off because it's never his fault. Right. He has the best equipment with like millions of dollars behind him, and if he loses, it's nothing he did. You know, I don't think I've ever heard Kyle Busch once say, "I screwed up there." It's just whether it was his pit stops or the crew, and when you're that caliber driver, I guess you can do that. But I could see like a Kyle Busch Clint Boyer rivalry if they were if Clint was competitive week in, week out, because I just don't think that they're this like if you have Clint Boyer just say, screw it, I'm dumping Kyle Busch to win the race, and he'll try to make a joke about it, and Kyle will be pissed off. That I could see, but once again, you have to have the fans. And Clint Boyer, I don't think, has enough fans to induce a rivalry. That's just what I think, though.
That's what I'm talking about like Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson, because like Larson, he's just not as competitive. I think Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson could be the next rivalry, because it's like you have Kyle Busch, the veteran who's in his prime, and you have Kyle Larson, who has a pretty decent fan base, who's still relatively starting his career. But ever since 2017, well, really 2018 didn't do that bad either. But it's like Larson needs to start winning more.
I think Larson's too. I know you said he's relatively new to the sport still, but I think it's too far gone. We needed that like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Kyle Larson, I think he's going to be the next Casey Kane. And I love Casey Kane to death, but Casey Kane
was one of the good guys, man.
Yeah, he was a good dude. He's fun. I thought,
but the thing is, like, nobody talks about him that much.
Well, that's because he was like, I'm convinced that dude was a stoner. If I ever make it in racing, I'm just gonna ask Casey Kane, like,
and guys, this is where I say,
yeah, I remember being like 14, and I'm not gonna talk about any drug use on my behalf, but I remember being 14 saying that dude's higher than a kite. But he was funny, but he was supposed to be really, really, really good. And I don't know, you can cough it up the bad luck with the teams that he got placed at. I mean, even with Hendrick, but he never really formed and became what I think could have become and what was expected of him to become. And I view Larson a lot like that. I mean, now he's kind of getting put on the back burner at Chip Ganassi, where he was the flagship driver. But now you have Kurt Busch, who is doing very, very well for CGR. And I just don't see Kyle Larson being I think he's too old, because he's considered a veteran now. I mean, there's no way you can't look at Kyle Larson and be like, oh, yeah, he's a young gun. He's a new young gun.
Those years have passed.
Yeah, too many race seasons has passed and too many missed opportunities for him to win. And, he has a decent fan base. I'm a fan of him. I've never bought another driver's gear except Jeff Gordon until recently, and it was going to be Kyle Larson. But I actually bought Bubba Wallace's stuff, so I'm a huge Bubba Wallace fan now. Shout out to Bubba Wallace. I was really upset with his tattoo, though. Like, why? The way he made his face, there's no way it hurt that much. I know I'm getting off track here, but I have a full sleeve, and I just bought Bubba Wallace merchandise, and that dude looked like a girl in that tattoo. And I'm like, dude, there's no way it hurt on the back of his leg. But no, I don't know I don't think any current drivers will create a rivalry that NASCAR would need to kind of not bring interest into the sport, but make it more interesting for its current fans. That's NASCAR's problem, is they're too busy thinking of people who aren't their fans instead of the people who are and what the fans really want. That's just my thoughts, my opinion.
I remember back in 2017 during the Talladega playoff race where Dale Jr., I believe he was third or second, and he was going to get a run on Brad Keselowski, but then Joey Logano blocked him. And I'm a Dale Jr. fan till the day I die. And I'm not going to lie, I hated Joey Logano for a good 2 or 3 weeks after that. I was like, this is why you're out of the playoffs, because you suck, you're no good, just because you blocked Dale Jr. from winning. And, considering he didn't win, considering Jr. hasn't won a race or didn't win, his last one was in 2015, it hurt even more. So I understand what you mean by rivalries. I mean, that was just like a one-off thing. But, yeah, it's like NASCAR does need a rivalry, but it needs to come naturally. It can't come, just because they're desperate.
Here's my take. And this is really, whether we want to admit or not, we're in the era of social media. Social media is like this. Here's your information. What you want, when you want it, and the kinds of things you want are on your personal phone. In the 1990s, like Tim mentioned, you had a TV, a newspaper, handheld newspaper, radio, DVD players, let's say VHS, magazines, handheld magazines where you could rip pages out and the ones you'd like.
Right.
And they were colorful. I remember getting magazines in the late 2000s that had Jimmy Johnson and Dale Jr. on the cover, Jeff Gordon. They're sparkling. We don't have that anymore. We have
sucks, isn't it?
And PC culture. I don't want to go to politics because that's not my place. But we're in the culture where if we're not within the lines of PC or we're meeting the expectations of a certain standard of how you behave on the camera, like, then you either become two things: a meme, or I don't know, just like unliked. Well, that's outrageous, you know. Driver personality on the track is valuable. However, I think drivers are too scared to be extravagant like they were 10, 20 years ago because of the advancement of social media.
I could see that because, I understand that argument of saying, look, we have information at the touch of our fingertips. But, you look at, so I'm a big Manchester United fan. And they have I love Man U. They have a ton of engagement on social media. I'm a Packers fan. I follow the Packers on Instagram. Ton of engagement on social media. They're still filling the stadium. They're still, selling tickets in magazines. When I see a magazine with Aaron Rodgers or, Ty Summers got signed and drafted, I bought a Ty Summers jersey. You're not going to have the same kind of thing. Like, I'm a NASCAR fan, so I go to NASCAR races, or like I'm a Hendrick fan, so I go to races for Hendrick. It's a driver. So yes, it comes 100% back to personality. And I don't know if they're too scared, like you're talking about, because you don't want to become a meme, or you don't want to become, you don't want to get sued by Moms Demand Action or something. But there's only so much personality you can have when everyone comes from kind of the same background. I mean, they're just cookie cutter tracks with cookie cutter drivers, cookie cutter cars. Finally, they're starting to kind of look, have their own design. Like, you can tell, okay, that's a Chevy, that's a Toyota. But even then, like, I think back to the early 2000s, those cars looked identical. Besides the sticker, I couldn't tell. I was like, but I was a huge Chevy fan. Why was I a Chevy fan? Because Jeff Gordon raced for Chevy. And, same with Pepsi. I still drink one Pepsi Max a day to this day. Why do I drink Pepsi over Coke? Because it tastes better, but also because Jeff Gordon was sponsored by Pepsi.
Thank you on that one.
He was sponsored by Coke too at first, but once he was sponsored by Pepsi, I wanted to support Jeff Gordon. I mean, and not that the dude needed any of my money, but if I saw a Jeff Gordon Pepsi bottle, I would buy it. And when Jeff Gordon came out with his energy drink, I bought one. I have it signed. It's unopened and signed when I met him here in Colorado. But it's stuff like that. Like, it's a driver that you just feel drawn to. And it's so much more than just the personality, but personality definitely helps. I mean, fans want to be a fan of the next big thing or the current big thing. And then you have the hipster community, which says they don't want to be a part of that, but they are, because they still listen or watch, and they're like, I just watched it before everyone else did. Well, that's great, but you're still a part of it. And that's what people want. They tend to want to be a part of the next big thing, or, a part of what is big right now. And then you'll have haters that are built from that. But even the haters are now a part of it. You see, so you really have to look at what's going to make NASCAR, that great. Is you're going to have someone who has that personality, but also tears it up week in and week out on the track. And then there's someone opposite of him who is everything that people hate about that driver. He's everything that he's not. So the fans the haters of that driver who's tearing it up week in, week out, now they have someone to cheer for, because every week in, week out, this guy can beat him. And that's what's going to have to happen. So as much as I'd love to see the personality, make it, I think that you have to have superstars. You have stars of the sport like a Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth. Like, those are well, I guess I shouldn't include Jimmy Johnson in that, because Jimmy Johnson is a superstar of the sport. But you have Matt Kenseth and you'll have Kevin Harvick's and Martin Truex Jr.'s and I'd say even Kyle Busch. I don't consider Kyle Busch a superstar. He's a star. He's a very good race car driver. Obviously, he competes week in, week out. He's a constant threat, but he's not a superstar. You just it's got to, and so you can't artificially create that. So yes, we need to have personality back in NASCAR, and I think that social media engagement and interaction is even better because if anything, that should just be adding to our viewership because you want to tune into the race because you hope your driver wins, and at the same time you hope the other dude wrecks out, and you're going to talk trash on social media because it didn't used to be that way. Like you said, Joe, we didn't have that back in the day, and I remember, I mean, it was MySpace back then. It wasn't Facebook, but there was MySpace groups about NASCAR, and I think I still talk to a few people who I started talking to when I was 15 years old in these NASCAR forums groups on MySpace, and that was a whole new world. You could talk with other people in a different state and sometimes a different country who are watching the same thing you are. So if anything, social media should benefit the sport, not take away from it. We just don't have superstars in the sport right now. And I don't know when we will or if we ever will, but I can tell you this much. If we continue to get drivers from the same kind of stable as quote unquote as where they're coming from, no, you're always going to have the same driving capabilities. It's just, that you can't pull everybody from the same plantation and then expect two to be like the best. It just doesn't happen.
Here's what I think the issue is. All the personalities in NASCAR, they run like crap. The drivers who don't have personalities, they run the best. Because I think everyone can agree, like drivers who have personality, Bubba Wallace, Clint Boyer,
Corey LaJoy.
Yeah, they got personality, but they're running like their Clint Boyer's probably the best of them. He's running like 10th at best. And then you got
definitely the Benedetto. The Benedetto is one of them too.
Yeah, well, I mean, does the Benedetto really have a personality? I mean, yeah, he works out, like, he works out a lot, but like that's really it. Like personality wise, like obviously he's another one of those drivers where it's like, he works his way up. He's earned what he's got. So I guess you could say that. But it's like I said, like Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney's like they really don't have personality. So it's like it's kind of like I said, like the drivers with personality, they're doing bad. The drivers without personality, they're doing good. So, let's move on to since we started talking about the Cup drivers already, let's move on to the race at Michigan. What'd you guys think of it?
I think it was entertaining, and as a fan, I was engaged, flag to flag, and especially towards the end with the fuel mileage run. I wish the race had like 5 extra laps. Then it would really get interesting because we see the front runners run out of fuel. However, great race, much better than the first one. I think the drivers and teams learned from the June race and implemented how to handle this package in a much better way coming again in August.
Right.
I thought the race was pretty decent. I mean, from what I saw, it wasn't bad. I personally thought that June's Michigan race was the worst race of the year. I thought it was a complete embarrassment on NASCAR's fault just because you literally couldn't do anything. Nothing.
Yeah, man.
If you got out of line, guess what? You're dropping all the way to the back like Daytona, Talladega. You couldn't pass the leader. I mean, Kevin Harvick couldn't even pass Austin Dillon. That's how you know there's an issue. But I thought the race was pretty decent. Kevin Harvick won, which we'll talk about the World Racing Media Championship standings later. That I did not need. But yeah, overall, I thought the race was decent. I probably give it I think I gave it like a 6.5 out of 10. So not bad, not the greatest race in the world, but it's like,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go the same thing. I'm gonna give it a 6.5. Just because like that finish with like 5 laps to go, Logano and Harvick going at it. He really does make some good. That's some good old-fashioned racing right there. I guess you could call it that.
Yeah. So Kevin Harvick led 22 laps to score his second victory of 2019 and his third total at Michigan. back to back in the August race. I think Rodney Childers made a great call towards the end. Despite starting second, Kevin Harvick was, I'd say, up and down towards the race, dropped towards like 15th, 20th, around
When he had
like,
that flat tire.
Yeah, he had a flat tire too. And many were like, okay, rule him out. Next thing you know, he's back into the picture and takes the lead late in the race, never looks back. I think that Kevin Harvick earned the win, but especially Rodney Childers. Rodney Childers deserves the exact same amount of credit. Here's the top 10. So Kevin Harvick, second victory of 2019. Denny Hamlin finishes second. Kyle Larson, who is a 3-time winner at this track, finished third. His third consecutive top 10 of the season. Martin Truex Jr.'s 10th top 5 of 2019. He comes home fourth. Daniel Suarez. Now, this is where things get interesting. Daniel Suarez, a much valuable 5th place finish, puts him right towards the playoff bubble. Kyle Busch, who had handling issues, started 22nd, comes home 6th. Ryan Preece. This is even crazier. Ryan Preece, first top 20 finish since Talladega in April.
Dude, can I just say Justin just scared the hell out of me? I'm not going to let that slide, dude. You can't come in like that and not expect me to say something.
I saw that he came in, and I'm like, all right, let me add him.
I was just like, poof. I was like, whoa, there's someone right there.
Yeah, so Justin, he's another regular on the panel.
You look great, Justin. Don't worry about it.
How you been?
I'm good.
Welcome in.
Welcome. Yeah, you're not late at all. We didn't start an hour ago.
We're talking about the Cup Series at the moment from Michigan. So, yeah, top 10, of course, we have Harvick, Hamlin, Larson, Truex Jr., Suarez, Kyle Busch, Ryan Preece. And I said just before he came on, his first top 20 since Talladega in April. William Byron, 8th, Chase Elliott, 9th, Alex Bowman, 10th. And here are some notables I mentioned. 17th, Joey Logano. Eric Jones finished 18th. Brian Keselowski, who started on pole, the driver I picked to win, finished 19th. Kurt Busch, 23rd. Ryan Blaney, 24th. 25th? I think it's 25th. Bubba Wallace, 33rd. Eric Almirola. Jimmy Johnson never recovered from that tire problem. Finished 34th, and Clint Boyer crashed out late in the race, 37th. Another championship.
Also, shout out to Ty Dillon, who finished 11th.
Hello, Justin. What's up, man?
So here's something. Let's talk about the playoff bubble. They're putting so much attention on 15th through 18th. Who's gonna get in? Ryan Newman, Clint Boyer, Daniel Suarez, and Jimmy Johnson. Let's be honest here. Whoever those 4 make it in, they're gonna get eliminated out of round 1. It's just they try to hype up so much where it's like, oh, which of these drivers are going to make it in the playoffs? Which of these drivers are going to make it to the playoffs? Okay, once whoever makes it in, they're going to be gone. Literally, they'll be out of the playoffs by round 1.
Who's competing for it right now? Who's competing for the final 4 spots?
It's a battle for 15th through 18th. Newman is plus 16 to 15th. Boyer is 16th plus 6. Suarez is 17th below the cut line minus 6, and Jimmy Johnson's 18th minus 12. Jimmy Johnson 18th in the standings. That hurts to say.
Do I look disgusted enough?
Hey, it's better than Dale Jr. 2017 where he got
We
27.
don't talk about that season.
I'm just saying.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine.
We don't talk about. All right, go ahead, Tim.
I didn't say anything.
Oh,
Here we go. So this is where it gets interesting. Of course, we have 9 drivers locked into the playoffs because they clinched from scoring wins. That's Kyle Busch, Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Brian Keselowski, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, Kurt Busch, and Alex Bowman. Those are front 9, and then outside those confirmed drivers, we have Ryan Blaney in 10th, Eric Almirola 11th, William Byron 12th, Kyle Larson 13th, Eric Jones in 14th. And then here's where it gets very interesting. The at-risk drivers begin right here. Ryan Newman, 16 points ahead of the cut line. 16th is Clint Boyer. It was +6 over the border line. Daniel Suarez, a great finish, a 5th place. That moves him right up to 17th, while Jimmy Johnson, after having an abysmal race, drops to 18th in points.
Yeah.
And then here's these drivers. They pretty much have to win at this point unless something crazy happens.
Bernard and Busher are 19th and 20th.
With Darlington and Indy, I know Bristol's coming up, so I don't even mind it, right? Darlington and Indy. If you look at what happened last year with Darlington, ended up in the garage. Day was over.
Well, hey, that was engine. At least it was not Alex Bowman that cut 4 times. He had a flat tire 4 times and got 3 laps down because of flat tires. And I'm like, what the heck? Why is it only him with flat tires?
How are we not talking about Ryan Newman being in the playoffs right now?
Listen,
honestly, like,
I think that should. How is that
everybody
not like a
undermines it.
main storyline? I mean, the dude drives a hot dog car and he's like 300 pounds. No, serious. I mean, I like Ryan Newman. Like, that's a big dude, and he's a rocket scientist like that. But that should be like a main storyline in NASCAR. You want to build up, some rivalries, NASCAR. You got to focus on that Oscar Mayer Wienermobile, man, because there's something going on there. Roush Fenway is not competitive. I'm sorry, they're just not. They're not the Roush Fenway of 2004, and around that kind of era. And for Ryan Newman to be like 4 spots into the playoffs, but it's not exciting.
It
like,
really does says a lot, doesn't it?
See what I'm saying? Like that it should be a main story because of how pathetic it is that we're even making that or talking about it as a story because of the system to win a championship is broken. It doesn't work. I mean, even the playoffs and the chase is artificial entertainment, and it's not exciting. Like, whoa, we got Ryan Newman in 12 and Jimmy Johnson. I'm not concerned. I don't care.
Yeah,
I hate it.
either.
I don't watch. Once the chase starts, I stop watching the sport. Like, if I'm ever in it, then yeah, I'm going to keep racing. I'm not just going to be like, all right, well, chase started, I'm going to stop racing now. But as a fan, it's not exciting to me. It doesn't build up any more excitement than if Kyle Busch was 500 points ahead of second place and he had the championship for a lock. But every weekend, the racing was hard. It was intense. And it was exciting. And maybe it's just because I don't have like a driver like a Jeff Gordon. Like, I mean, I don't look at Bubba Wallace the same as I do Jeff Gordon as a fan, but it's just not exciting to me. And the fact that those even have to be storylines, like, it sucks. I mean, it would be just as abysmal of a season if Jimmy Johnson was 18th without the chase as it is with him. There's no more added excitement that he might be able to sneak his way in there. No one gives a damn.
Yeah,
no
he'll
one
be eliminated
cares.
after the first round.
He's having a bad year. I mean, if anyone can sneak it in and win the championship, it's him. But what does that tell you about our championship system? And people want to compare it to football, like, oh, you can go undefeated and then lose in the first round of the playoffs that you play. That's completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even compare because you don't have a variable of a car. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have a motor that can just blow up. Like in football. I mean, yeah, your star player can break his leg or whatever, but that's due to bad training.
Yeah.
More than just, a variable of even lapping a car. Racing is not like other sport. And I hate to go on a tangent about this, guys. I'm really sorry. It's probably the first and last time you ever invite me on your podcast. But it's not exciting. It's excuse my language, but a shitty system. NASCAR needs to go back to its roots, and we should be talking about. Does anybody know if we can look at the points under the old system? How? Because I know when
I got it. I actually
you have that pulled up.
Well,
Ooh.
another YouTuber, The Iceberg, he posted it.
Okay.
So let me go.
Because I remember, especially in 2004, because Jeff Gordon would have won under the old system. So
he would have won in 04, 07, and 14.
Yeah, I was definitely in tune with that one. Trust me, that year I was pissed. I think I wrote like a hate mail to Kurt Busch. I was like,
"Oh my god,
you elf-eared son of a bitch! You
should have wrote a hate mail to Brad Keselowski. What do you mean after Texas?"
No, I remember because I was excited that Jeff fought him. I didn't care about anything. I was like, yeah. Jeff's lips all busted up, like he got his ass kicked. As a Gordon fan, you're like, yeah, we're not gonna take your shit. Okay? We're gonna get punched in the face by you. We're not gonna take it. Now, I was happy about it, and that's when I started to like Harvick because Harvick pushed Keselowski so Jeff could grab him. I thought that was awesome. I do hate Brad Keselowski for that, but no, so if we can look at the points as they would be under the old system, I can almost guarantee you it has to be close.
I got it. All right, so here I'll just say 1 through 18. So Kyle Busch would still be the points leader, but instead of only by 20 points, he'd be ahead by 279.
Oh God!
Okay, but we have to keep this in mind though. If he's running the old point system, that's where you got 95 points for a race.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't like 1 through 43.
Yeah,
so he hasn't even locked the championship in yet.
Yeah. So Kyle Busch would be the points leader. Truex would be second. Logano third. Keselowski fourth. Hamlin fifth. Harvick sixth. Kurt Busch seventh. Chase Elliott ninth. Eric Jones 10th and Eric Jones 9th and Alex Bowman 10th. Then 11th will be Byron. 12th will be Almirola. 13th Blaney. 14th Newman. 15th Larson. 16th Suarez. 17th Johnson. 18th Boyer.
Once again.
Was it 195 points or 95?
195.
195. Yeah.
No, I think it was 185.
185.
185.
That's right.
Yeah, the 5 bonus points for leading the lap, regardless.
Yeah.
But remember,
and he's 200 ahead, so he doesn't even have it. He has it by one race.
Hey, remember, also for NASCAR, 185. But if you led the most lap was 10, so it will be 195.
That's what I'm thinking. 195. I knew I was like, dude, I know I've heard 195 before. I know it's been. Well, how many? 16 years since we've used that format? No, hasn't been that long. Yeah, it has been 16 years. I got math for Marines. 1 + 1 = 11.
Wait, I'm confused. Hey,
what?
You know about like some people they move up in a racing series?
Uh-huh.
There's one driver that has not. Bubba Pollard, age 30. He's 32. He's still in late models. He's only made 5 ARCA starts and nothing. And one reason he did get fined the other day for beating up someone's dad.
Okay.
That is
yeah.
Well, but we could use that though. I don't know his results. I mean, is he like a winning driver in the late model series?
Yes. He has 13 cars super late model tours, 6 wins, 11 top 5s, 11 top 10s.
How old is this guy?
He's 32.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Don't make me lose hope yet, bro. I just started my dream again, dude. I don't know. That could be a number of things. That could be, like we talked about earlier with companies running it, you have to be marketable.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's where you get cookie cutter drivers. But at the same time, be your own damn self. Like I'll tell you this. I showed up to Madera Speedway and I was way out of place. I was wearing a black polo tucked in with jeans. I got full sleeve tattoos, but I am who I am. Like, I'm not going to be, I was blaring metal music, and everyone's kind of looking at me like, who the hell is this guy? I'm just who I am. Like, I didn't fit in and I didn't do good either, but you got to be marketable. And so I don't know if he's not marketable. I don't know if he doesn't have the money to get him into that series. A lot of it is connections and a lot of it is money. And until that changes, and until you have the class of drivers that we have now that are their father's sons, in the sense that, you hear Elliott, Blaney, Logano with who his father worked for and what he did. And you have those drivers like that. It's hard to, your seats aren't open. There's not open seats. And right now you have Levine Family Racing talking about replacing De Benedetto with potentially Eric Jones through that whole ordeal. But yet and still, you're just doing the musical chairs and kind of shuffling the same drivers around, I don't think there's really a lot of openings for new talent or new drivers when it comes to racing, because everybody who made it themselves something in the sport from the late 90s through the early 2000s, their kids are now the race car drivers, and nothing's going to stop them from their kids being the race car drivers. And I know Ty Gibbs is real good, but once again, who's going to be driving for that, a Gibbs car there? You know what I'm saying? Like, surprise, surprise. It's just it's tough to say why that 32-year-old hasn't moved up. I honestly can say I've never heard of the dude. I mean, maybe he needs to do a better social media presence, or like go streaking at a racetrack or something.
Yeah. And also about some drivers like Ty Gibbs. He drives an ARCA, Joe Gibbs Racing. There's other drivers like Chandler Smith. He's driving for Vanderini. He has no racing family. It's himself. He decided to start racing at 13. He's only 16. No, 17. He's 17 years old. And he just races at different short tracks, he's racing at Bristol for Kyle Busch Motorsports this weekend.
Yeah, but that should tell you something right there. Like, good on him for being the first generation of wanting to race. But if you're that young and you're racing for teams like Venturini and Kyle Busch, do you know how much Kyle Busch Motorsports, I'm not going to get into like specific, but how much they charge for one truck race?
Yeah.
Like that operation is expensive. And Venturini's even expensive, because Venturini is like the Gibbs when it comes to ARCA.
Yeah, they are really good.
They're a powerhouse organization, and they do a lot of good. I'm not talking down about these teams. Every team in racing has their place. And I think Venturini, as much as Gibbs or Kyle Busch Motorsports, they have great driver development as well.
Yeah.
No matter how much money or who connections you bring to it, they do a lot of good for developing drivers.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't just have a 13-year-old just start racing for Venturini or stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so someone's got to be financially backing him. And I'm not dogging him in any sense. I mean, everyone has a different financial kind of lifestyle, but it's just tough. It's hard to see, because you want it to be like who is the best on the track and not who has the most money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're at where we're at, and so you have to decide, how bad do you want it, and how much in debt do you want to go to make something happen. So
like I'm looking at Chandler Smith in 2 truck races this season, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, 55 laps led, average start of 13th, average finish of 6th. That's in 2 truck races.
I mean, it's gonna have if he has truck races with finishes like that, then the averages are going to look good. I mean, I don't know what tracks he raced at, and he could be a good driver. I'm not saying if you have money, you're not a good driver. You have to have skill set, a certain skill set behind the wheel. But it's a hell of a lot easier when you bring millions or at least hundreds of thousands of dollars to the table and tell the team, if we crash the car, don't even worry about it, because I have enough money to build 5 more of these things. Yeah. And that's why you see some drivers stay in the sport as long as they have without the results. And how much of that, like I said, is just the overall costs and operations, and it's a business. That's what it comes down to. NASCAR is a business. Owning a race team is a business. So I'm never going to say like a race owner shouldn't make money. If you're going to have a business, you're in business to make money and have a profit. So that's the kind of bottom line. But you want, as a driver, you just want to win. And I'm not saying that any of these drivers who are in the sport, who maybe some people think they don't deserve to be in the sport, that they don't want to win. Some of them probably just can't. I mean, I think that anybody who puts their mind to something can do it. If you want to be a NASCAR champion, I think that you can do it with enough practice and enough resources that you provide yourself. It's all mindset more than anything. But it's how can you compete with someone who's dad owns a multi-billion-dollar company and they're sponsoring you, and this starts from go-karting. They bring, like I said earlier, $15,000 go-karts to tracks and karting series, where other people are bringing like $500 putt golf go-karts. And I've seen it when you go to a local track. You'll go to a local track and you'll see these like teams who are affiliated with NASCAR bringing like NASCAR like haulers to the racetrack, and you got other people on open wheel trailers with their car, and it's like, what in the actual hell? But that's a driver development thing, and that's a tactic that these teams use. And I'm all for them to go ahead and go to the track and be competitive. But don't tell me that, money doesn't play a factor in it. And as fans, it's frustrating because it's like
money always plays a factor.
If you're a fan of racing, you have to probably more than likely want to race. Now, some people are too afraid to actually do them. Like my mom. My mom is a huge fan of my racing, but she's too afraid to ever get into a race car. And that's okay. But she used to watch the races with me. Like she has a heart attack every time I go on the track. But, so there's some people who maybe don't want to race, but as a fan of racing, you have to kind of want to at least think about racing. And when you start to learn the ins and outs of racing, it's very dejecting. It can be. And it's very frustrating too.
Yeah, like my dream was always to be a race car driver, but I just never had the money. Like really the only money I really got to do it is go to like K1 Speed or like Extreme or something like that's all I could really do. Even though I win all the time there, it's like it means nothing. So it's like I don't get the funding to do it no matter how hard I've tried to, at least get into a late model.
Right. And I know we've talked a little bit about that. I know you reached out to me, and I mean, there's so many different ways to do it. Me personally, where I'm at in my life and the way I view it, it makes more sense for me to lease out a car in a team for a weekend compared to buying my own car and working on it and, maintaining it and hiring guys or having friends come help me. Because one, I just don't have that many friends that are willing to do it. And two, I don't have the time of day to work on a car. I'm not a mechanic by any stretch of the imagination. I didn't even know what the hell was under the hood. I just knew when I was like, all right, flip this button and you push this button and things start.
Press the pedals and turn the wheel.
Yeah, I was like, and that's would I like to learn more mechanically? Yeah, but I know my skill set, what I do and what I'm not good at. I'm not proficient with motors and engines. To me, it just doesn't make sense. I can't comprehend engines and mechanical aspects of cars and stuff, but I can feel what the car is doing. So there's so many different ways to get involved, and it does take money. I mean, you're talking late model races. Some teams charge $1,500 a race, and there's other teams in the same exact race charging $5,000 to race their car. And and that's a late model. That's a late model where no one's going to know who the hell you are.
Yeah,
I mean, you'll if you win the race, you get like $200. So you're not going to make more than you spend already, and that's if the team is cool with you and lets you keep all of it. Most of the teams will do a 50-50 split. So you're paying this team to race, or you have a sponsor who's going to pay this team to race, and then you're going to go out and let's say you win and you win $200, and now you split it, and so you keep $100. And you give the team $100, there's no money to be made in climbing the ranks of racing, but it's an obsession. It's a passion. And if it's what you want to do, you'll find a way.
Exactly. You put everything into it.
Yeah. I mean, and for me, I'm 28. I started racing at 24 and stepped away from the sport at 25 for, 4 years. But, I went back in the oil field, and to me, that's how I make my money. I work in the oil field for months on end, 7 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day. I save my money, and then I spend it on racing.
You see all the space aliens.
Space aliens. And that's what I do. And so, Jesse Iwuji, he started with not a lot of resources either. And at 28 or 29 years old, he said, I want to be a race car driver. He's racing in the NASCAR Gander Truck Series now. And he's inspired a lot of people to say, I can make this a possibility. So if you really want it bad enough, then you'll do it. I just hope the sport that I grew up dreaming of being a part of at least has some sense of resemblance by the time I make it to it, but only time will tell.
Okay, that is a great analysis. I think that the talk about just money in motorsports is a reality, whether we want to admit or not. There's a cost to everything.
It's inevitable, as Armani would say.
Wait, hold on.
Do it, bro.
What'd you say? Hold on.
It's inevitable.
Hold on. Anytime they say that word, like I'm required to do this.
Yes. just
This is a requirement.
All right.
That's a requirement. Every time someone says that word, I have to. You see, at least I can keep one Thanos meme.
Anyways, you guys were saying?
I don't know. I don't think that we've kept one topic. We we talk about something and then we move on and we go back to why NASCAR sucks now.
Yeah, this is the Bloody Online podcast. Like we go from one subject and then we completely deviate.
We are definitely below the yellow line. NASCAR would be black flagging the hell out of us.
Yeah.
NASCAR would park us.
Yeah.
Hey, at least it's not like last week's podcast. Last week was really different.
Yeah, we went head to head.
Yeah, me and Joseph kept arguing back and forth.
Well, at least we're all agreeing this time that it takes a lot of money to race.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And I put the question in the chat earlier, asking, should NASCAR have a salary cap? This is something racing, especially for NASCAR, we've never seen. You know, in sports teams, each team, like for example, the NHL, there's a certain cap they can spend, like a spending cap. Is this something that NASCAR needs to try?
I don't think it would work because then you're starting to get to micromanaging. It's like, okay, it's salary cap, but what are we putting the salary cap on? Are we putting it on how much you can spend on the car, how much you can spend on the drivers? It's too much. It'd be too much micromanaging that it would just be like dejecting.
What about for the small teams? Because they, like Rick Ware Racing, for example, they bring in 4 cars to the track. That costs a lot of money for that small team. Like they have 4 race cars at the racetrack this weekend.
But listen to what they can afford. An LMP2 program that they're about to begin this fall.
Yeah, that's true. You're going to start that.
No, I think that you have to look. I mean, here's the thing with Rick Ware Racing, and you know, I follow them on the IG, and I know some of their drivers who have raced for them or made starts for them. But it's their business. Yeah. And no matter what you do, the cream is going to rise to the top. And I mean, you look at when NASCAR implemented car maximums, you know, teams can only have this many amount of cars. It didn't stop the winning percentage for those teams. You know, like these teams have made it. But what I've always thought of is how much is it the money aspect of these teams, which it is a big part of because they have the funding to be able to do more than someone who maybe doesn't have that funding, compared to how much of it is the talent behind the wheel of those cars, the drivers. You know, you look at when NASCAR started saying we're going to try to make it more even for smaller funded teams. Nothing they have done had changed anything, because you had Jimmy Johnson's and Jeff Gordon's, and when Roush was a powerhouse, you had Matt Kenseth's, and you know, you had Tony Stewart's. Those were high caliber drivers who were week in, week out going to probably win a race. Like, I mean, those were the names that if you asked who's going to win a race this weekend, if you asked in 2004, who do you think is going to win the race this weekend, and you didn't hear, you know, taking junior fans out of it because he could not even be starting, and you'd ask a Dale Jr. fan who's going to win the race this weekend, Dale Jr. It's like, yeah, he's going to win all right.
You're about to make me wear my Dale Jr. jacket.
Dude, you can wear it all you want, man. I'll make just as much fun of you as I did everybody else. In my life. I never liked Dale Jr. I never did. I never liked his. I liked him. I just never liked his fans.
The fan base is way toxic.
Hey,
I had
Christopher Bell's fan base too.
Senior fans, because like junior fans,
wait, Justin, you said something about
Christopher Bell's fan base. They just yell at, "Oh, Eric Jones, get out of the car! Bell's better than you." They're all bashing Eric Jones. Bell fans are.
I haven't experienced that from anyone.
I've heard that Bell fans want Eric Jones out of the 20 and put Bell in there.
Oh yeah, that's Christopher Bell is going to be in a 20 car. There's no doubt.
But people bash that Eric Jones sucks and he'll always suck. That's what they bash about Eric Jones being bad.
Oh, I don't think he's lived up to the expectations.
Well, in comparison to his teammates, absolutely not.
He's in his 3rd season, and all of his other teammates are established veterans. So I don't expect him to perform to the level they are.
Yeah.
Well, but at the same time, I mean, look, I'm going to be frank because we're below the yellow line, and I've already been penalized by NASCAR, I'm sure. But something is going. Mentally not there, physically he doesn't look there, and it could be the stresses of him maybe thinking he's going to lose his job. But that dude does not look healthy. He doesn't. I'm not saying like whether he's cute or ugly. I'm saying he does not look healthy.
Yeah.
Well, he just does not come across healthy to me. He looks like he is gaining weight. He looks extremely stressed. He looks. I'm not going to like speculate on, but I don't want to use the word strung out. But he just doesn't look there, and I don't know. I don't know if it's the stresses of contract year or him not knowing. And I'm sure it was very stressful when, he was 18 years old and everyone's like, "You're the next Jeff Gordon. You're the next Jeff Gordon." And they said the same thing to Kyle Larson. "You're the next Jeff Gordon." I remember Kyle Larson won his first race, and the first thing they did was show a picture of him wearing a Jeff Gordon jacket and said, "You're the next Jeff Gordon." Can you imagine the pressure that would come with being told you're the next Jeff Gordon? Joey Logano was told you're the next Jeff Gordon. And
Casey Atwood. Anybody remember Casey Atwood?
He's Casey Atwood. Casey Mears even was supposed to be the
Casey
next
Mears
Jeff Gordon.
for sure.
Casey Atwood, not Casey Mears.
Well, Casey Mears was supposed to be good too, but he never performed either. I mean, you had Scott Riggs was supposed to perform extremely well, and he never did. You had Dylan Kwasniewski. He was supposed to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
And now he's selling houses. Like
Dylan. Yeah.
Kwasniewski, and that guy won championships in the K&N East and West. So it's not like he wasn't good. It's just I don't know how much of that is Jones. I don't know Eric Jones's daily routine. I just don't. But it doesn't look. He doesn't come across prepared when I look at driver readiness. I mean, and you look at Tony Stewart. So that's why I'm saying, like, I'm not saying Eric Jones is, good looking or not good looking, but like Tony Stewart looked prepared even though he was out of shape.
Oh yeah.
He just looked ready to race. Eric Jones does not look ready to race week in, week out, and he's not racing very well. Recently he has been. He's been putting together some good finishes.
4 straight top 5s.
And so that could be maybe the pressure. He's finally handling it well, and maybe earlier in the season he wasn't. I don't know. I've never been in that position, so I can only speculate. Because at the position I'm in, anybody's going to take my money. They're like, "Oh, yeah." So
Eric Jones though is not that bad. He has 8 top 5s and 12 top 10s. However, he's only led 60 laps.
He's not a threat. He's not someone that you are picking to win week in and week out. And I know that's in that series, it has to be the hardest ever because those are what are expected to be the greatest drivers, on the planet. I mean, if you're in the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series, you're supposed to be one of the best drivers, if not the best drivers on the planet. But he's not a consistent threat, and he doesn't have personality. This all goes back to, his on-track results, but at the same time, corporations running NASCAR. Does anybody know even who sponsors him at this point? He doesn't have a personality. He's not marketable at all.
Hey, he has DeWalt, Craftsman,
Tools, Sports Clip. These are sponsors Matt Kenseth had when he drove the 20.
Yeah, well, these are. Listen,
not have Sports Clip.
It was a rhetorical question. I mean,
wait,
Circle
K was a rhetorical question, Matt Kenseth, right?
But I'm saying when you think of DeWalt, you don't think of Eric Jones.
No. I understand what you're saying because Eric Jones has 3 teammates. Like I said before, I try not to compare him to his teammates because his teammates have 10 plus years experience. But Eric Jones's teammates, they encompass 3 of the top 5 spots of points. Eric Jones is 14th.
Well, I don't know if what's going on with crew chief Chris Gale, because he's the crew chief of that 20 car now. So because he was the crew chief of Eric Jones when Eric drove the 77 for Furniture Row. and moved when Kenseth retired after 2017, as supposedly retired. I meant when Eric Jones took the 20. So I don't know what happened.
I mean, no, I just I hate to speculate even further because I don't know, but Eric Jones can drive a race car. I think we know that. I think he's won in the lower series.
Yeah.
But look into Eric. All I'll say is this: look into Eric Jones's history. Look into who his family members are. There's only so much money can get you, and there's only NASCAR's a "What have you done for me lately" sport. And I think the caliber of drivers that he raced against a few years ago when he was getting his start and tearing things up were a lot different than who he's racing against now. And I've never thought of Eric Jones as someone who could be an extremely elite driver and be competitive week in, week out. He's just either really good, he's on it, or he's just, I don't even know what. I mean, to me, that's what I've always seen. And like I said, who are you going to want to put in that car? If you're a company who's sponsoring that car, who do you want to put in that car? It's more than just, winning races. Unfortunately, it's a business like we talk about. And you want to put someone in there whose face and name is going to be synonymous with your brand. You're sponsoring a driver who's a brand. You once you become a professional race car driver, you are your own brand now. And Eric Jones is just not as marketable as I think. I mean, I don't even think Christopher Bell is that marketable, but I think he's a little bit more marketable than Jones. And, you think of Goodwrench and Dale Earnhardt or Kevin Harvick when he took over. You think of DuPont or Exalta now and Jeff Gordon. You think of Lowe's and Jimmy Johnson. You think of Home Depot and Tony Stewart. I mean, we can go on and on and on. DeWalt, I still think of Matt Kenseth because I'm old. But, it's Matt Kenseth did something in that car. Eric Jones is not doing something in the car or off the track with those sponsors that are making people want to market him.
It's like, some, like during like Xfinity races, you see like big drivers, Kyle Busch, Joe Logano, Denny Hamlin going down in the series. Eric Jones is racing Bristol in the 81. His last Xfinity start was 2017. He never made a start in 2018.
Maybe he should have.
Yeah, but Joe Gibbs decided not to. He said,
Here's the thing. When you race an Xfinity Series as a Cup driver, you usually have certain sponsors that endorse you, that want you on there in a Saturday. Listen, you're Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Danny Hamlin, you name it, and you race on a Saturday. That's usually because you have a sponsor that wants to be shown synonymous with a big name driver, because usually chances are they will win the race, if not finish up front.
Yeah.
And Eric Jones, I think you're certainly right, Justin. He should have more races in that 18 car last year than this season. Honestly, why not run in the truck series? But with the way rules are nowadays, the limits of how many races in the Xfinity trucks you can run as a Cup Series regular are numbered, unlike years in the past. So when your races are numbered, your opportunities are limited. But here's the thing, Tim, I know you mentioned how coming through the ladder is important as for any race car driver, but nowadays there's simulators.
Yeah.
How impactful is iRacing to NASCAR?
I don't think, well, it depends on what you mean. I think that you can get a ton of practice. And I remember being a teenager when they came out with the laser measured tracks, and they were like, these are exactly how the tracks are. And it like blew us all away. We were like, whoa, and I've done some online racing. My brother used to do some online racing back in the day before it was what it is now. But I think simulators, yeah, they're a great tool to get practice in. I've talked to a few people who do simulator racing before they're racing. There's a couple tracks that are different in the sim than, believe it or not, than the real track. I think it's a great tool. I think that I don't know what NASCAR is doing, trying to push it like live on NBCSN, that to me is just weird. I don't think any NASCAR fan would want to watch that, sit down and watch it. Like, I know that the teams I follow give like shout outs to their iRacing drivers and in the Peak Series or whatever. And to me, it's like, that's cool. You know, I used to be a big gamer too. And I can respect what they're doing because it is tough to race in iRacing because it's a lot like the real thing, but there's no danger aspect. And I think it's cringy to me. It depends on what you're asking me about the simulators. Do I think they're a good practice tool? Absolutely. If you want to be a race car driver, you should 100% invest in a simulator and a good, seat and cockpit kind of setup. Do I think that we should be pushing it to be like a mainstream kind of thing with the top 3 series televised and stuff? No, I think it's absolutely cringy as hell. Why would you want to watch someone race on a computer? Let me put it that way. Like, what element are you taking out of racing? You're taking
about the target audience, Tim. The target audience. If NASCAR is pushing to get the next generation interested, they have to promote esports. That's why I believe they're doing this, because with esports you can relate to a gamer. It doesn't matter what the genre is. If it's esports, it's relatable. It's a computer game. You're like, hey, I'm drawn in.
Here's my question.
I must be too old.
Here's my question, though. How many people watch esports? Let's be honest here.
A lot. When it comes to first-person shooters, a ton. Dude, I was at Best Buy the other day. They had a whole section for esports. I was like blown away because I work in the middle of the desert. The closest town is 2 hours away. It has a gas station. So I'm not used to like interactions in the city, and I come back to Colorado Springs. I went to a Best Buy, and it was like, do you want to – I swear this is real. It was like the movie theater voice. It's like, do you want to be the next e-gamer? And it was like – and there was like – it was a whole section. And it was like, buy the new advanced E4 esports, buy esports. And it was like some dude. It was a whole Korean team. And they're like, Stargate to team sponsor. I was like, what in the actual fuck is going on right now? But they have like keyboards that light up. So I know it's a big thing, especially for shooters. I know Madden is really big and people like bet on online Madden. But I can't see racing on the internet even being remote. Like, people don't even want to come watch the real races, Joe. What the hell are they going to sit down and watch someone do it on a computer for? It's cringy.
I agree. I think that's a great question for the difference of generation in terms of NASCAR fans and just racing in general. The clash of cultures, it's not just a screen, it's not just gaming now. These are real competitions that people engage in. I've experienced this myself in Gran Turismo, hosting Le Mans series now.
Can I pause you real quick, Joe? Can someone, whoever the hell's watching TV, can you mute it or mute your mic? Because I don't know what
TV is on.
Hey,
Justin, is that you?
No, I don't have a TV on.
Or like the background noise?
Someone has a. Am I the only one hearing this? I feel like the old dude. I'm like that old grandpa. You son of a bitch.
I don't know who that is.
Justin, I think that's you.
Definitely not me.
There's someone talking in the background.
I don't know. But let's get back to
Nick, can you calm down? They're hearing you from my room. They're hearing
we found the culprit.
Like I said, the Millennial Line podcast.
Justin, you're right.
We'll go from talking over.
Just talk quieter.
Dude, that is so much better.
Okay. Back to esports, though. I used to host a Le Mans series on Gran Turismo 6, a video game from PS3. They're not in service anymore. But I held a race every Saturday. Okay, just have this going on. Just enjoying myself, watching people race in multi-class situations, like in real life. And little did I know, there would be Raja Karuth, who is through the NASCAR Drive for Diversity program, one of the select tryout drivers. He's from Baltimore, Maryland. Then there's Turismo Racing drivers. Actually, no, Trey McGrattan, who's a dirt track driver from Indiana, making his way through midgets so far. I have tons of other names like Turismo Racing. They're a esports group that focuses on record-breaking lap times, and they actually met in the Canadian Grand Prix this year, which I thought was very cool. So yes, esports is the new thing, but I personally believe in terms of NASCAR, that's not the correct direction to take.
No, not at all.
Well,
and I mean, a lot of there's some drivers who have been noticed from iRacing. I think those days probably, can still continue because a team has invested money in one of their esports competitors. But as far as I don't know who NASCAR is trying to attract at this point. I just don't. I mean, I've given up, because
the world will never know, bud.
No, first it was they wanted to attract women, and then they wanted to attract people who were I'm not coming from a standpoint of whether I agree or not, but first it was women, then it was we need less white drivers, and it's become it's become everything about political correctness, and it's become everything that's not about driving. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a good driver or not. We need a certain amount of these colored people, this gender. And I just don't understand it for the life of me. I don't care if you're a purple woman. If you're out on that track, you have a personality that I like, and you're beating the hell out of the competition. I like you. I like that. It's once again, it comes back to artificial entertainment because they lost their core fan base and they were trying to attract a certain new group of people, I guess, or at least retain the ones that they did attract through the early kind of 2000s when even, Californian, kind of like Southern California people were watching racing. People you never would expect to watch racing, like you see them at a race. But why does it have to be about that? Why do we have a drive for diversity? Why do we have esports? You know what I'm saying? Like, why? Why do we have this stuff? And
I think personally, the Drive for Diversity program is a great thing for NASCAR.
Yeah,
it expands. There's the purpose for the Drive for Diversity program is to expand the viewing audience, not just drivers and driver cultural backgrounds, but to also expand the viewing audience. Now, do I think this should rule the entire nature of NASCAR racing? No. However, I think that is a great door open for opportunity and success for drivers to say Daniel Suarez, Xfinity Series champion, or Bubba Wallace, who found success in the Truck Series. And yeah, say what you want about his Cup run in Richard Petty's car, but he's still a successful driver in NASCAR. And
okay, but let me ask you this: without the Drive for Diversity, do you think that they're not capable of winning those championships?
They're still capable.
And they most likely would have. If look, it doesn't matter what color skin you are, what gender you are. If you have some amount of skill behind the wheel, and now especially in the recent years, if you have money behind you and you're marketable. So if you personally don't have the money, but there's a company that's like, this dude's marketable, we're going to get with him and stay with him for a while and fund his career. You can do that. Where I'm coming from with the whole, like you said, expand the viewership. I don't want to expand the viewership. I don't, because those fans are not going to stick around. Racing fans are a different breed. And that's why you have like hardcore race fans whose generations have been race fans, their family, and now they don't watch the sport. And NASCAR is trying to keep these kind of new fans. That's where they came up with the whole playoff, because once all these new fans came in and were filling the stands and stuff, they were saying, well, we want playoff system. We want this, we want that. And now they don't even watch racing anymore.
Exactly.
So why are we trying to expand the viewership? And look, it just comes down to, I guess I'm old school with it. I don't give a damn what gender you are. You can't control that. This is how I view everything in life.
Gender
I'm not going to do something special for someone because of something they cannot control. You can't control what gender you're born with.
Doesn't give you any some special ability behind the wheel.
I don't see. Look,
it's your mindset.
It happens to be a sport dominated by white males. Okay, I will say that more white males tend to enjoy racing. At the same time, I'll say more black males tend to enjoy basketball. And I see a hell of a lot more black males on the basketball court in the NBA than I see white males. But I see a couple white dudes there. And why are they there? Are they there because they're white, or are they there because they can play basketball? It's the same thing with racing. Bubba Wallace is not where he's at because he's black. Daniel Suarez is not where he's at because he's Hispanic. They're there because they have skill behind the wheel, they're marketable, and they've shown success behind the wheel. We do not need a program to expand viewership to try to rope in new fans. And we definitely don't need a program where we're putting emphasis on certain drivers who are a certain way because of stuff they can't control. I'm reminded of Tony Breidinger. She's a great race car driver, races for GMS in the super late model 21. She made a post a couple weeks ago and said, I normally don't talk about this, but some guy said that's a lot of horsepower for a girl. And I just wanted to inspire other girls out there. It doesn't matter what gender you are. If you want to be a race car driver, be a race car driver. That's the attitude we need. We need that kind of attitude in racing because it doesn't matter. You can't control being born a woman. You can't control being born white or being born black or being born Hispanic or Asian. If you have a passion and you want to do something, go out and do it. And so what if racing is kind of dominated by men who happen to be white? There's a reason for that. It's kind of a generational thing. 9 times out of 10, if you're racing, your dad has raced or your grandpa has raced or you know what I'm saying? And it's a Southern kind of sport. That's where its roots are, is in the South. So if you look at the South, it's kind of dominated predominantly white. And so I don't know. I probably shot myself in the foot talking about it, but it just frustrates me because I think, once again, we're looking in all the wrong avenues and all the wrong areas of why no one's filling the stadiums at the racetracks and why we constantly have to change things, such as how do you win a championship or how the races are ran or how long are the races, when you never had to worry about that before. And it's because you're trying to appease all these corporations who are bankrolling the sport. I think a great move that NASCAR did make, believe it or not, which at first I was kind of like, this is going to be weird, was removing a title sponsor. I think that was probably one of the greatest things they could have done. And I think they should have done it years ago when Winston stepped out because the government said cigarette companies can't sponsor, sporting things
anymore.
I think they should have just ended title sponsorship right then and there. And we would be so much better off. I really think that'll be good for the sport. And I'm not saying, I want to make it really clear here. I'm not saying, we shouldn't encourage if someone happens to be a different color or a different gender than a white dude and they want to race, that we should discourage them. Like, whoa, this is a white man sport, little lady. You go play with your Barbie dolls. Wow. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we shouldn't care.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have to have a drive for diversity, it just makes us look like idiots as race fans.
Here's my take. Listen, the Drive for Diversity program was specifically put out there to open doors and open opportunities for drivers to get into these cars. I think what some of the things you said are absolutely true, that NASCAR doesn't need all this background stuff, but still, just think about if you're Janet Guthrie and what she went through. And if you watch her documentary on whether it was actually ESPN and Fox, they did the same thing, or FS1. Very similar documentaries on Janet Guthrie's Indy 500 runs. She began her career racing in the mid-1960s at sports cars. Over there, they took her in, welcomed her, and it was, bring your car. She drove this one Jaguar GT model or GT class car and found success. And she still had to work twice as hard, but it was a lot easier of a path. And then look, decade and a few years later, in 1976, in the Indy 500, they put barriers in front. And they made comments. It was not as accepted for a woman to race in the Indy 500 in the late 70s. While in the 60s and 70s in sports car racing, oh, go ahead, join in.
Yeah.
I feel like, and plus, when she failed to qualify for the 1976 Indy 500, that opened the door for NASCAR. Say, hey, join the World 600, get in a stock car.
Yeah, but
let's see what you could do.
Okay, here's one thing I'll say. Especially, that was like back in the 1970s when that was the norm.
Yeah.
We're in 2019 where basically, I'm not going to get political on here. That's what my Twitter is for. But I'm not going to get political, but basically, it's 2019 where if you're not diverse, you're seen as like a bigot or whatever.
Yeah.
So you think that the teams that they see like a women or a African American or Hispanic, they do good, they'd want to jump on it immediately. So what's the point for the diversity program in the first place?
Exactly.
There's no point for the diversity program in that kind of stance. If we're trying to open the doors for African American, for Hispanic, like Timmy said, if you're good enough, you'll probably get in, and especially if you're a woman who does good, like Haley Deegan, or you're Hispanic who does good, like Dana Schwartz, or a black guy who does good, like Bubba Wallace. The teams are gonna go for you more because of like this diversity. Whether you agree with that or not is up to your personal preference.
Yeah, but there's nothing like telling.
Wait, hold on, guys, hold on. I just wanted to say something, right? Add on to what Armani is saying, like. And you usually see it in drag racing in the NHRA. You see guys like Antron Brown. You see guys like Cruz Pedregon. You see women like Leah Pritchett and Brittany Forts, who's the 2017 champion. Those guys are really making a name, and they don't have a diversity program.
Right? Well, there's nothing like telling a driver that you don't deserve to be here, except we need to drive for diversity.
Exactly.
Hey, you didn't. You know what? You really suck at driving, but since you're not a white dude, we're gonna bring you in because we got this great thing called Drive for Diversity. Well, I want to be an NBA player and play for the Toronto Raptors. So let's start a dribble for diversity because I deserve a shot.
Wait. The first driver was not Janet Guthrie, Wendell Scott in the 60s.
Think about Wendell Scott and what he went through.
Who?
It was the 60s in the South.
2019.
We'll talk about these days, just recent years.
Recent years. Danica Patrick, nobody liked her because she was getting into the sport because she was a woman. She brought no talent to the table. Wow. Even her one win in Indy, she never performed in Indy. And then
she should have stayed in IndyCar.
She was a decent IndyCar driver.
Yeah, I'm not saying she wasn't decent. She never performed. She won one race where half her normal competitors didn't compete against her because of the cars and split. IRL split. So the one race she wins, which is great. It's hard to win a race, and she got where she got, and on her way up, she was very competitive.
And she's come close to winning a few more.
But once she made it, she did not deliver. And then what did we do? We threw her on there and said, you know what? She's a hot chick, so she's on racing NASCAR.
She's on the front page of magazines.
I'm being blunt with you.
That's all. She could settle and not.
She could sell stuff. It's like Kyle Petty said. Remember when Kyle Petty said she can drive a car, but driving a car and qualifying is different than racing. She's not a racer. And what was he called for that? Sexist. And he was said because of all those things. But in actuality, he was just saying, do you deserve to be here? And Kyle Petty, of all people, knows if they deserve to be there or not, because he was being compared to Richard, and he was nowhere near his father.
People think that Danica brought GoDaddy. No, GoDaddy was sponsoring Junior Motorsports in 2009 with Brad Keselowski. So people think that Danica brought the sponsor to Junior Motorsports.
Well, she had GoDaddy in IndyCar.
But she sold a lot. But she made a lot of money.
But for Junior Motorsports, the first guy that had it, Brad Keselowski in 2009, sponsored by GoDaddy in his 88 car. So those for the people that think Danica brought GoDaddy, you were wrong.
They still made a lot of money.
They made them a lot of money, but here's the thing: I can't think to you when I saw Bubba Wallace making a Cup start. The last thought on my mind was, "Whoa, black man on the track." I don't care. I want to watch good racing. I want to watch hard racing. I don't want to watch artificial entertainment. This isn't the WWE. We just don't need it. I think it's a sore spot on the sport to say we need to have a drive for diversity because there's not enough competitive women or people of color who are men who I'm just going to say who aren't white men, because that's what they're saying diversity is. Okay, they're saying we need a drive for diversity because there's too many white men competing in motorsports, specifically NASCAR. So we need to have a drive to have more diverse drivers. And I think that is the most disrespectful thing you can tell anyone who isn't a white man who's interested in racing and wants to be a professional race car driver in NASCAR, that they only deserve to be there because of their diversity program. I think that's despicable. I think it's a sore spot on the sport. And I think it makes NASCAR fans look, I don't want to use the word racist, but idiotic and very like from the 60s. Because it makes it seem like NASCAR fans are pushing back against it so bad that the sport's like, you know what, since we have KKK members coming to the track with Confederate flags, we're going to have a diversity program. Wow. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. We don't need it. I don't think for a second that Jesse Iwuji takes to the track and says, I'm a black race car driver. I think he just says, I'm a race car driver who happens to be black. I think Bubba Wallace, same way. Daniel Suarez, same way. Tony Breidinger, the same way. Haley Deegan, the same way. I mean, Haley Deegan, it took her a while to even come out and say, I think they're racing me differently because I'm a girl. And do some people race car drivers differently because their gender or stuff? Of course.
They're afraid of the consequences that come
of getting beat by one. But you know what? I think I think mainstream, I think 9 out of 10 racers, we're going to race you if you're a respectful racer and you're good and you deserve to be there. We don't care. We just don't. We don't need it, man. We don't need it. I think that it just makes us look. We're the only sport that's kind of looking at this, and you have to ask yourself, why in the world are we?
Yeah, I'll say. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying you don't see you see typically black NFL running backs. You see black linemen. I mean, there's some white linemen, but you see predominantly black players in the NFL, in the NBA. You see predominantly Caucasian players in volleyball. You see predominantly Asian figure skaters and mathematicians. Like, I'm not trying to stereotype people, but there's stereotypes there. There's cultural backgrounds and differences. I don't care
that's just
cultural competence.
If you want to race,
it's inevitable.
I'm not doing it because I'm too lazy to turn my phone on.
Too late.
I'll say this. Here, I'm going to say two things.
Go ahead.
Number one, I agree with him. It's like, look, if you're white, if you're black, if you're woman, male, tranny, like fucking whatever you are, if you want to go out and race, you should be able to go out and race. You shouldn't be given the opportunity because like, oh, hey, we need to diversify ourselves. No, you should be given the opportunity of, oh, hey, if you're good enough, it shouldn't be because of your color. So that's one thing. And number two, this is probably a really bad example, but like when I'm racing at fucking K1 speed or whatever, there's a lot of blacks and women or whatever. I don't care what gender or what color they are. I'm going to race them like I race everyone. If you're in my way, I'm going to spin you out. If you got out the way, I'm going to race you clean.
Wait, you said you spin people out if they're in the way.
Yeah.
So if you were running a cup race, for example, and Kyle Busch is blocking you, would you dump him?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Well, I'm going to prove to you. Look, I'm going to say this before I go because I have stayed way longer than I was supposed to, but that's okay. I've had a lot of fun with you guys. I'm going to prove to you, Joe, that this drive for diversity is bullshit. Yeah. I'm going to become the first transsexual, non-binary. No, I'm serious. Listen, I'm going to be the first non-binary driver. I'm going to be the first gender fluid driver because that's the drive for diversity that we need. And I don't think we've had a gender fluid driver. So I'm going to be a woman and get in the drive for diversity NASCAR Next program. And then as soon as I make it, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm fluid. Today, I'm actually a male. I shouldn't go down that path because I probably just alienated 80% of the companies that would ever want to touch me as sponsorship. But like I said, you got to be yourself. I don't care. We don't need it. And you know what? If there are people who care about a woman or a person of color on a racetrack competing against them, they don't need to be in the sport. And I hope that they get beat, and I hope they beat themselves in the head. But I'm reminded of Frankie Robinson in baseball. He didn't give a damn. He just went out there and played the game because why? He loved to play the game of baseball. Who cares what color of skin he is? I think that's what we need to go back to. But gentlemen, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate you letting me stay so late. I probably will never be invited to one of these again, but I had a blast. It was a lot of fun.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, until your thing gets shut down. Just wait. Someone's gonna hear it. Someone's gonna listen to the last 10 minutes, and you guys are gonna get shut down. I'm gonna be.
If we haven't got shut down yet, we're not getting shut down anytime soon.
Yeah, Jackie Robinson. Thank you, Justin. I appreciate it. It's been a long time since I learned about him in school, but yeah, Frankie Robinson, my man. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. I hope you guys have an awesome night. I appreciate you letting me be on the podcast. It's been fun talking with you. It's been real. Yeah. And
dude, you should come by more often, man.
Whenever you let me know. As long as I'm not at work, I'll do it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming on. Take care.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Bye.
All right, everybody.
Dude, that was a lot of fun.
That was Tim. He's going to be the first pansexual or fluid sexual NASCAR. You heard it here first.
Let's talk about racing, please. Seriously, though,
let's move on to actually the race weekend. Yeah.
I mean, he does make a point. However, I still think like just the Drive for Diversity program has meaning, and some people have to work twice as hard because of their appearance. However, in the end, it's about the racing on the track. So let's talk about the
let's
race.
Talk about the before we talk about the upcoming race weekend, I haven't done this yet. Let's take a look at the World Racing Media Championship standings. The one time I picked you, it's not to die. Good. So here's a look at Here's a look after round 3 of the World Racing Media Championship standings. Let's take a look right here. Let me know when you guys can see it.
There you go.
So after
round, cool. I never knew you could do that.
So after round 3, the top 2 are still the same. I sold the points lead, but Danny cut it down to 2 points because Kevin Harvick decided to win the race and Eric Jones decided to die. Will moves up to 3rd place with his only NASCAR picks, keeping him alive, minus 18 back. There's a pretty decent gap on that. 4th place is Thomas. He moves up to 4th, minus 25. Then we got a tie for 6. Joseph still stays at 5th, minus 27, and Justin minus 27. Justin's not happy about it.
No, he's not.
This is for Hendrick Motorsports. Bring better cars that don't fall apart.
Joseph gets the tiebreaker because Austin Cindric won the race. Was it Austin Cindric that you picked?
Yes, Austin Cindric won the race.
He should have finished 30th. I
was All right, and then it's a pretty large gap.
Oh my!
Larry is 7th, minus 49 back. NCAL is minus 52 back in 8th. Jeff is minus 54 back in 9th, and shot on the field is Josh, host of the checkered flag, minus 66.
Holy God!
66. And we'll give our picks now when we're talking about the upcoming race weekend. As you can see it right here, it looks like it basically for the championship. It looks like it's going to come down to the top 6. Realistically, it's going to be between me and Danny.
Well, hey, what happens if your guys' drivers DQ but mine get wins somehow?
Get ready.
Considering most of our picks are through the charter system, I don't think that's happening.
You never know.
Hey, disqualified. That could happen. I'd probably cry. It could happen.
Wait. Hey, what happens if somebody picks Dylan Lupton, for example?
I mean, he did
in the truck race, and he wins, but he DQs. And my driver.
What planet are you in, Neptune?
Hey, you never know. He did good at Chicago, and he got 5th. And he got 4th at Kentucky.
Venus?
Well, so yeah, like I said, it looks like it's going to come down between me and Danny. Will, he's not out of it. He's not out of it. He still has a decent shot. He's minus 18. He's not, if he could get in, he could get into the fight. Thomas, Joseph, and Justin, they're far back, but if some things go their way, they could still have a decent shot at it, but it's a long shot. And then 7th on back, they need a miracle. So that's your analysis of the World Racing Media Championship standings. What do you guys think about it?
I think it's game on.
Justin is not happy. I know that.
I have to make sure that Hendrick brings a car that could be.
Stop picking Hendrick then.
It's like it's just because I want to pick him for once because Chicagoland's the only pick I got.
Listen, when Vegas arrives, pick
Vegas.
88.
Well, Vegas. Last time he went to Vegas, he finished like 15th. I don't trust someone finishing 15th.
All I'm saying is, Danny, if you're ahead in the points at the end of the season and it's in 10 points, I'm using that 10 points I said I take away from you.
Oh, no.
I'm kidding.
It's all good, man.
I'm just saying, Danny, you're dying. You're not going to win this.
So really?
Holy crap.
All right. That's enough. Let's stop before we start throwing our
Hey, we need to make a bracket challenge for the truck series.
Hey, do you know what's shocking?
What?
For once, Joe Nemechek is letting John Hunter Nemechek race. The first time this season in the 8 truck. Holy shit, I'm happy. Cody Rolla.
So, we got how many race series we got? We got 1, 2, 3. We got 4 racing series this year. We got the all 3 NASCAR series again, along with the IndyCar series making its return at Pocono. So, and this is round 4 of the 2019 World Racing Media Championship. For those of you who don't know, basically we make picks. Basically, our picks for every race. You have to, if you want a chance at scoring points, you have to make a pick for the race. If your driver finishes top 10, they score points. For example, your driver wins, you get 10 points. Second 9, for 10th 1, etc. You don't get into the top 10, you don't score points. However, because NASCAR has stage racing, if your driver wins a stage, you get 1 guaranteed point. For example, Jack Hawksworth, I forgot who picked him. I'm not going to go and look. He finished 15th, so whoever picked him would have gotten 0 points. But because he won stage 1 or stage 1, he won stage 2.
Yeah,
he gained 1 point.
Yeah,
right.
So those are your 2019 World Racing Media Championship points. So let's move on to round 4. So round 4 kicks off with the Truck Series race at Bristol. NCAL has Brett Moffitt winning the race, the first race of the playoffs. Also, before I forget to mention this, we added something new to the World Racing Media Championship standings. If your driver wins the championship, you get a bonus 8 points. So let's say, for example, Kyle Busch makes the Final 4. He wins stage 1, stage 2, the race, and the championship. Instead of the normal 12 points, you can gain 20 points. Championship. So those are your so that's a little addition we added to the World Racing Media Championship standings. And I'll throw out our truck since the playoffs are locked in for the Truck Series. I'll give the so far 7 of our 10 members made picks for the Truck Series Championship, so I'll write them off here. I picked Brett Moffitt to go back to back. Thomas picked Ross Chastain. Josh, host of the Checkered Flag, picked Grant Enfinger. Will, aka NASCAR Opinion, the founder of World Racing Media, picks Johnny Sauter. Joseph picked Brett Moffitt as well to go back to back. Justin picked Stuart Friesen, and Danny picked Ross Chastain. NCAL, Jeff, host of Battle Up Radio, and Larry, host of the Weekend Roundup, have yet to make a pick yet. They got until Thursday to make their picks. Also, if your driver gets eliminated, you lose your shot at 8 points. So you just better hope he makes it to the Final 4.
Bullshit chase. Hey, maybe Stuart Friesen would win the championship without the chase.
I mean, Justin, if Stuart Friesen could still win the championship, and then he got an extra 8 points to it, so you don't know.
Yeah, but you never know. He could choke it away.
Hold up. We got 3 races coming, 3 different tracks, and one of them is his hometown.
Wait. Remember, he missed round. He didn't even make it to round 2 of the playoffs last year.
Well, he's doing a lot better this year. All right, so let's move on to the Truck Series, the first race of round 4. Who do you guys got winning the Truck Series race at Bristol Motor Speedway?
Wait,
Bristol Motor Speedway is a very interesting concept with the truck series because there's only two multiple winners in history. That's Kyle Busch and Ron Hornaday. So chances are, if you win at Bristol, you're not going to win again. So Johnny Sawyer will not win. Brett Moffitt will take victory.
Please work.
So Brett Moffitt, you got Brett Moffitt. All right. What about the rest of you guys?
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with my man Austin Hill. Can he go back to back? I think it's possible.
Very clever.
All right. Austin Hill going for Austin Hill, getting his third win of the season. What about you, Justin?
Oh, I hope this one works. I feel this driver made 2 starts this season for KBM. He has 1 top 5, 2 top 10s. I think Chandler Smith will get his first win at Bristol Motor Speedway.
He's got
Kyle Busch Motorsports.
Kyle Busch Motor Speedway.
No, Kyle Busch is not have a racetrack. Kyle Busch Motorsports.
All right, so you're picking. I mean, he does have the Lord of the Truck Series, Rudy Fugle. Like I've said before, Rudy Fugle, literally, he is God. Came down from the heavens, took the form of Rudy Fugle, and went to Kyle Busch saying, "All right, I want to be your crew chief." And then it's like, "Why the hell would I make you my crew chief?" And then he just and then Kyle Busch is like, "You're hired." But I don't think God is going to win the Truck Series race as the crew chief. I think that Stuart Friesen is going to get a second career win and a second win of 2019 and lock himself into the second round of the playoffs. Those are our truck.
You remember last year? I think it was last year. He finished in second, did he?
Yeah, he did. He did finish second to Sauter in last year. So yeah, he did good last year. It was close. I was so mad at Sauter. I'm like, Sauter, get out of the way. You could have. I wish lap cars would have screwed Sauter. They screwed Nemechek. Nemechek was leading. He got screwed by lap trucks. And then, yeah.
All right. Now let's move on to the Xfinity Series race number 2 of round 4. Who do you guys got?
Well, Legend has, of course, you look at Bristol in the most wins. Kyle Busch has 9. It's easy to say he can win the race if he's on the entry list.
He is.
But I believe Christopher Bell beats his veteran teammate to win.
All right.
Ooh.
Sorry, Kyle. Sorry.
I'm gonna go with
Justin's like, please let this be. Please. Justin, he's still got a shot at third. Championship. You got to go through me and Danny first.
Yeah. I gotta go with my man. Now I'm not gonna go for Christopher Bell this time, but I'm gonna go with Gregson.
Noah Gregson getting his first win.
Yeah. I think it's possible.
Just,
Ooh.
You're done hyperventilating?
Okay. Hey, this pick, somebody might call me crazy. In 2015, Joey Logano led all 300 laps. He is in the entry list in the 12. I feel like Joe Logano is going to win at Bristol.
You really think a Leach is going to teach these guys a lesson?
A Leach winning
Well, Logano did lead all 300 laps in 2015 to the win, so that was really impressive. So I feel
go ahead.
I feel like he's gonna actually get the first like Cup guy to win at Penske this season in Xfinity because Brad has not won. Paul Menard did not even win. Ryan Blaney did not win. So yeah, I think Logano's gonna get the win.
All right, now here's my pick. He's part of the big 3. He ran second here at Bristol to Christopher Bell. I think he'll get it done. Tyler Reddick gets win number 4 on the season, extends his points lead even more. And I'm just happy me and Danny haven't made the same pick so far because that's one of the things that really killed me in the points because me and him both picked Brett Moffitt.
What?
Speaking of Logano being a Cup driver, round 3, the Cup race, the Bristol and the Bass Pro Shop NRA night race. Once again, thank you to Bristol Motor Speedway themselves for sending me this hat last year, along with some other stuff, including a fidget spinner. I still have it in the packaging because, even though my mom she found a fidget spinner and she's like, hey, I'm going to give this to you because why not? Even though I despise fidget spinners, I own 2 now. So I'm getting off topic. Round 3. Who do you guys got for the Bristol NRA night race? Justin, like, I need to hyperventilate to get my pick right.
The last time a Busch Carter Kyle found victory lane at this track was 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson. With that said, I believe his teammate William Byron, I feel I feel like I'm in a bad place saying this, but I'm a believer. Watkins Glen, he messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I think
William Byron wins at Bristol.
How many times are you going to pick William Byron?
Byron.
You're gonna pull the Danny. You're gonna pull the Danny and Justin tactic. We're just gonna keep picking the same driver until they eventually win.
You picked Byron last time, Joseph?
At Watkins Glen.
Oh yeah, Watkins.
I'm gonna go with Kyle Busch because he's just that dominant at Bristol. Okay.
All right. What about you, Justin?
Oh, this is hard. Really hard to pick because I'm almost every time I pick someone, I'm always wrong. So I feel
you could always be Larry and only gain like 12 points in the last 2 rounds.
I think. Hey, this one. Somebody might call me stupid enough.
Uh-oh.
For some reason, the person I'm picking has this person 2018 at Bristol in the day race. He led a lot of laps in the race. It was really dominant until he got caught up in a crash. I feel like Ryan Blaney will get his first win of the season.
All right. Now, Ryan Blaney was my original pick before we went on the air. However, I looked into more of it. Let me give you some insight. In the last 2 Bristol races, this driver in last year's Bristol night race, he led the most laps in the race and he won stage 2. And in the Bristol, Joseph's doing the research. And in this year's Bristol spring race, he finished, I believe, 3rd, top 5. It was in contention for the win all day long. I think he'll get Bristol win number 2 or 3. I'm not 100% sure. Joey Logano gets win number 3 of 2019.
Yes, I think he'll win. So he won the 2014 and 2015 at Bristol.
So you're going to change your pick?
No, I should I change my pick?
I don't know. You just said that you think he'll win.
Yeah, well, okay. If Brad Keselowski won in Bristol in the past, so you could say he won. Like it was 2011.
It's been a while. Hey, wait. Joey Logano won 2014 and 2015 night races at
Bristol win.
Remember, Joe Logano has won 2014 and 2015 night race at Bristol also.
Yep. All right, so now we move on to the final race of round 4 of the 2019 World Racing Media Championship, the Pocono 500 for the NTT IndyCar Series. Who do you guys got going to victory lane at the end of 500 miles around the tricky triangle?
Okay, so in the last 7 races.
Oh, no, wait, Danny's got his pick.
Will Power is definitely one of those guys who has been good around Pocono, but I'm gonna go with Dixon.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, man.
I think he could finally get his first win of Pocono.
Danny's going with the tactic again. He's gonna keep picking the same.
Dixon won in 2013. It was a 400-mile race, however.
Wait, what?
Let me double check something. The 2013 Indy, it was a 400-mile race. You have to complete 100 more miles to win this time. So I'm ruling out the 9. However, if you look in the last 4 years, you had Montoya, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Will Power back-to-back, and Alexander Rossi last year. I believe Rossi goes back-to-back, just like Will Power did, and win the second Pocono race of his career. Walk-off fashion.
What about
Justin? My pick. You know Penske has won a couple times at that track. I feel Joseph Newgarden this time will get the win at Pocono and not get pushed off the track by Ryan Hunter-Reay, and he's going to win by leading he's going to lead the most laps. He'll have the most laps led, and he'll dominate and win at Pocono.
Okay. Now, here's my pick. He's had a horrible season by his standards. He's not even in the fight for the championship. I don't even know if he's in the top 5 in points.
He is. I know what you're talking about.
You could shut your mouth.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
He's always very strong at Pocono. I don't even know if he's yet to have a winless season in his career. If he hasn't, that's not going to happen this year. Will Power gets his 3rd Pocono win and finally starts to put things back on track in 2019. Yeah, that's it.
15 points. I knew it. I freaking knew it.
All right, and that's your. And if you guys want to know, the rest of the 20 of our World Racing Media picks from Will, Thomas, Larry, Jeff, Jod, from the rest of the World Racing Media folks, you can find out at the day of the race. We, as usual, on our Twitter at WR Media Group, by the way, shameless promotion. We always post in our World Racing Media picks. We allow the picks to change. I mean, really, the picks are only like locked in the same day. Once the day of the race comes, that's when they're locked in.
Right.
So for all we know, I can change mine to Scott Dixon, and then me and Danny score the same points, and I cry in my sleep.
Wait, you never know what could happen. You know,
you never you never know. But if you want to know the rest of our World Racing Media picks, you'll be able to find out the day of the race. So make sure to tune into our Twitter at WR Media Group to find that out. But other than that, I think that's really it. Unless you guys got something else.
For people that don't know about races when they're on TV, for the truck race, it's on FS1. Because people ask stupid questions on Facebook. For Xfinity, NBCSN. Same thing for the Cup race on NBCSN. And for the Pocono race, also on NBCSN, because people think it's on NBC or CNBC. People forget. People have to check online. So just a friendly reminder.
Just a friendly reminder.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the other racing. Before we get this going, we had some other events that took place in the race weekend, including we had the Knoxville Nationals, we had motocross in New York, and then the Pinty Series in Trois-Rivières, if I said that correctly.
Yeah.
I'm getting used to it. All right, so let's start off with the Knoxville Nationals and a very touching story. For if you guys remember, it's Jason Johnson, the driver from Australia. If I'm not mistaken, he passed away in a crash last year. The team is still competitive to this day. He, I think, his widow. If I'm like I said, don't trust me on that. I don't cover dirt racing, but I think his girlfriend holds like share of the team, and it's continuing. And for Knoxville, David Gravel won the race. And second place was Logan Schuchert. Darren Pittman, third. Tim Krieger fourth, and Ruddle fifth. Now go on to the Knoxville Nationals. As I do my research.
Mid podcast research.
Well, most people I know didn't watch the race because Knoxville Nationals is on dirt fishing. It costs like about $35 a month just to watch dirt fishing. That's how the Knoxville Nationals are broadcasted.
Yeah. And I know Speed51.com has the same thing with the Snowball Derby.
The only thing, the Myrtle Beach 400, usually late model race, that is now on Fans Choice TV. Like, Fans Choice TV does a better job. For that, it's free. That's good about Fans Choice. They are better.
So, yeah, here are the Knoxville Nationals results. This was the 59th annual. Okay. So, yeah, Schuchert second, Pittman third, Kading fourth, Reitzel fifth, Brad Sweet, Honest Child seventh, James McFadden eighth, Donnie Schatz, and Gio Seltzy 10th. And then looking down here, Kerry Madsen 11th, Shane Stewart 12th, Cody Eliason 13th, Joey Saldana 14th, Ian Madsen, Parker Price Miller, Brent Marks, Matt Jewell, Trey Starks, and Paul McMahon. That's the top 20. Then Tim Schaffer, Rico Abreu, Lance Duacy, and Dominic Scalesi. That's your top 24, the drivers who made it in the A main for the Knoxville Nationals.
Yeah.
And some of the drivers that did not make the Knoxville Nationals include Kyle Larson. Apparently, he had no plans to attend this year, even though it says DNQ.
But I heard he withdrew. He actually withdrew, he said. He withdrew from the Knoxville Nationals.
Sammy Swindell was another driver who did not make Knoxville this year. And if you don't know dirt racing, you go through heats and qualifying rounds before you get into the A main. So making the A main is a challenge on its own.
Yep. Because there's usually a lot of entries. Because we've seen like in January of next year, we're gonna have the Chili Bowl Nationals. There's so many entries.
That's tough to get.
Oh,
and
it is.
And we'll talk about that in a moment because we'll keep on with that. Here is the motocross 450s at Unadilla in New York, round 10 of 12. The overall top 5. Ken Roxon, Danny, I said Ken runner-up Roxon after Washougal. I might take that back.
Yeah,
he swept both motos in his Honda. Marvin Musquin swept second place finishes in his motos. Zach Osborne, third overall, scored fourth and fourth in the Husqvarna. Eli Tomac, seventh in the first moto, third in the second in the Kawasaki. Jason Anderson, fifth, and of course, fifth overall in the Husqvarna. Here's the standings after 10 of 12 races. Eli Tomac has the lead of 426 points. Second place, minus 40, Marvin Musquin. Third place, minus 41, Ken Roxon. Jason Anderson, minus 90 in fourth. And fifth place in points is Zach Osborne, minus 95. There's 2 races remaining in the next 2 weekends. Budds Creek, round 11, and round 12, the season finale, the Iron Man in Illinois. Let's talk about the NASCAR Pity Series as they went to Trolley, VA. A great family moment on the podium for the Dumoulins. Jean-Francois. Hold on. It was LP Dumoulin.
Yeah.
LP Dumoulin, my bad, won the race. Alex Tagliani second. Jean-Francois Dumoulin third. Kevin Lacroix 4th, and DJ Kennington 5th. This was round 8 of 13. And here's the championship standings after 8 of 13 rounds. Andrew Ranger leads the points. Kevin Lacroix, second, minus 14. LP Dumoulin, third, minus 20. Alex Tagliani, minus 37 and fourth. And DJ Kennington, fifth place, minus 63. The next race will be in Antigonish. I think that's the name.
Yep.
Round 9 of 13.
Yep. And also, we also have the K&N East race at Bristol, the K&N West at Evergreen, Arca's racing at Illinois State Fairgrounds this weekend.
Oh, this weekend?
Yeah. DuQuoin is at the end of the month, so yeah. They have a break. The next weekend, Arca's off next weekend.
August 18th. Yeah.
Yeah, August 18th is the Arca race from Illinois State Fairgrounds.
All right, so is that everything?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about F1. We got to talk about breaking news first before we get rolling. We completely neglected the talks about Formula One this morning. The breaking news that fell: the beans are spilt. Pierre Gasly is no more for Red Bull Racing. Alexander Albon is in.
I don't agree with it.
Well, for me,
yeah.
But Kvyat, the problem about Daniel Kvyat, he's done that. And remember, at the Spanish Grand Prix, Vettel was pissed, and he even told Kvyat to go back to Toro Rosso.
Okay,
he even told it.
But Vettel, okay, but who does Vettel drive for? Ferrari or Red Bull? What do you think? They're not going to pay attention.
Who did he used to drive for?
He doesn't drive for them no more. And look at him now; he's fucking dreidel every other week.
Well, they want to try a rookie. They want to try someone else that's doing a rookie being good at Toro Rosso. Well, I'm glad that Brendan Hartley didn't go to Red Bull, because that would have not ended well. He would have been out.
Okay, why would you think Brendan Hartley joining Red Bull is a good idea?
No, I'm saying because if Pierre would have been bad, who would have replaced Ricardo? Pierre or Brendan?
Here's my thing. Gasly didn't do bad at Toro Rosso last year.
Yeah. He's
good. Having like I said with Todd Gilliland, he's having a sophomore slump. But like I said, that's not acceptable when you're driving for a team like Red Bull, where you should be competing for wins. However, why are they rushing up Alexander Albon, who hasn't even finished his rookie season? If you want to talk about performance at Toro Rosso, I'm not saying that Alexander Albon is bad. No, by no stretch of the imagination, I think he's a bad driver. I think he's a great driver. But even if we're talking, because I'm the man of statistics, he's getting beat by Danny Kvyat in the points.
Well, remember,
Kvyat. What you want about the podium or whatever, but at the end of the day, Kvyat got the podium. Albon did it at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah, hold on. Let me just show you. Danny Kvyat is 9th in points with 27. Albon is 15th in with 16 points. Say what you want about the podium. Say what you want about the German Grand Prix. I know the German Grand Prix, it happened. It somehow happened. Don't ask me how. It happened. But at the end of the day, Kvyat, he's been running better than he's ever ran before. I think that he deserves another shot at Red Bull. It's just, I just think that they're rushing Alexander Albon. It's like what makes them think. It's like, okay, you want to make a run of the Constructors' Championship. You want to make a run. You want another driver who can actually compete for podiums and occasionally race wins. Let me speak Alexander Albon. I don't think it's there in my opinion. I think he'll be where Ferrari is. I think he'll be running where Ferrari is, like 4th and 5th.
Wait.
I hope I'm proven wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Right. I mean, don't know why they put Albon 1. Kvyat has run multiple years. Maybe, I know at Red Bull, you have Verstappen. Most years experience. They're putting Albon a rookie to learn from him. That's why they're not moving Kvyat, because how is Albon going to learn from Pierre Gasly? So Kvyat could help Gasly. Verstappen, he's been in F1 for a while now. He could help.
Then why couldn't Verstappen help? Why couldn't Verstappen help Gasly?
I don't know. Maybe
listen.
I know this is not.
Here's my question.
I know this is
what
not.
What makes everyone think that it's gonna be any different?
Wait,
I don't think I'm not saying Albon's gonna be running where Gasly's running, like 8th and 9th in a Red Bull. But I don't think he's gonna do it. I don't think he's gonna impress. I think he's gonna be running 4th to 5th most weekends, and I think he'll be lucky to get a podium.
What happens in that Belgium? Lewis Hamilton wins, just example. Bottas, and then Verstappen, Albon. Is that good? Albon being 4th with Verstappen 3rd?
Yeah, that's good. I'm not.
This is why I'm a believer in Alex Albon. I'm sorry to cut you guys off, but remember the Chinese Grand Prix earlier this season?
Oh yeah,
round 3. Albon crashed the car in
FP3.
He crashed in FP3 and had to start from the pits on race day with a car he had no experience on. None. Drove it to a points-paying finish.
Yeah,
and I didn't expect that. I'm like, oh boy, that sucks.
Yeah,
it's moments like China when I'm like, hey, I'm invested in Albon. I like that kind of racing when you start from the back and you can make a points finish.
Right.
That's golden. Just my humble opinion.
Wait, also Albon did finish 3rd at Dams in the F2 last year, 3rd place.
Okay, but Pierre Gasly won the F2 championship in 2016.
Oh, well, but Gasly at Toro Rosso, the only thing that was funny at Toro Rosso that I laughed about was that check if there's fire behind. That he was yelling that to the crew, like I'm checking the race in FP3. Kvyat finished 19th out of the race somehow. Albon got 10th after starting 20th. Oh, okay. Kvyat crashed. But it's so funny that I'm looking at it. Pierre Gasly had the fastest lap in the Chinese Grand Prix, but finished 6th.
I'm just saying, I think that they're rushing Alexander Albon. He's in his rookie season. We're not even halfway done.
Yeah.
I think that they should put Kvyat in the car, at least for the rest of the. I personally think just let Gasly run the rest of the season, see if he can even do anything. Obviously, that didn't pan out. So that's one thing. But
I'm looking at.
But here's the thing: it's like I said, we talk about impressment in Toro Rosso. Gasly finished 4th in a Toro Rosso car. He did good at Toro Rosso. Arguably, he's doing better. He did better at Toro Rosso than what Alexander. I'm not trying to deny Alexander Albon. I just think that they're rushing him up, and I'm afraid that that's gonna hurt.
Wait. I was looking in a Red Bull. Guess where Kvyat finished in points at Red Bull in 2015?
Where?
7th. 7th place. While Ricardo did good. He got 7th in the standings.
Okay.
But what happened?
And this year he got a podium with Toro Rosso. He's driving better than he's ever had before.
Well, what happens if Albon jumps over Norris in points? Because Norris, what happens if Norris gets 10th in almost every race, while Albon gets 4th and 5th place finishes and passes Kvyat in points?
Okay, obviously Obviously, Albon is set to finish at least top 6 in points. You're in a Red Bull car, unless he does what Gasly's doing. Unless he does what Gasly's doing, he's going to start doing. He's gonna be in the top 10 points of what I'm saying.
But would
What I'm saying is, are they rushing him? I'm afraid that they're going to rush Alexander Albon, and that's going to hurt him in the field. Because think about it. What if Alexander Albon next year has a sophomore slump and he gets kicked out of Red Bull? I'm going to put the blame on Red Bull Racing for that one, for rushing Alexander Albon too quickly.
Wait, why does Red Bull have an alliance just Red Bull and Toro Rosso? Why can't they join Mercedes? And then they have Mercedes, Williams, and Racing Point.
They're sponsored by Red Bull. That's the thing.
But the engines is not Red Bull engine. It's Tag Heuer.
Tag Heuer. Well, actually, Honda.
Well, they could leave Honda and go to Mercedes.
Toro.
They're not going to do that. Red Bull, I feel like, wants to be more independent. They don't want to be dependent on because Red Bull is a rival of Mercedes. Right. Do you really think that they don't want to say like, oh hey, we got
But the problem is, like I guess that the top speed that Mercedes does is 204 miles per hour. A Red Bull car is 200, 4 miles per hour difference. My question, and like a Ferrari is 202 miles per hour. So basically, they're separated by 2 miles per hour each. But what happens if Red Bull decides to get a better engine? Example. What happens if somehow Williams gets random ass speed and they're faster than Ferrari engines and Honda engines? Well, you never know. Hey, I could do better than Robert Kubica in a Williams. I won't finish last.
How many Formula 1 races do you have under your belt in real life?
Hey, I'm only play F1
Guys, be civil. Come on.
Guys, you need to stay off the damn weed.
Wait, I play F1 2019, but that doesn't count. That's a video game. I wish it was an actual simulator, but it's not. It feels like it, but it's not.
Yeah, my whole point with the Alexander Albon move is I feel like they're going to rush him, and if it hurts Albon in the long run, that's all on Red Bull Racing.
I agree.
But how about my question.
I hope he succeeds. I hope I'm proven wrong. I just don't have a good feeling about this.
But what about whose fault is it? Like, which person at Red Bull? Is it Christian Horner, the team principal? Who is it? Who is it at Red Bull's fault? Who fired Gasly is the problem.
I don't know. You can't
business management in the end.
How about
the business
guy?
Wait, let me go check. Wait,
it's not like one guy.
It's called a business, Justin. Yeah, it's a collective decision. Everybody has a role.
One of the tire changes went up to Pierre Gasly, and then he's like, "You're fired." And then he went to Alexander Albon, and then he's like, "Okay, you're in now."
I heard that it was. When you say there's multiple people, Rick Hendrick fired Casey Mears himself. Basically.
Well, to be fair, Rick Hendrick is a team owner.
Yeah, I mean, who's the team owner of Red Bull Racing?
A lot more
the man who owns Red Bull.
Obviously, you have to take.
I think his name is Dietrich or something.
You got to take consideration of the sponsors. That the sponsors still want Casey Mears as their flag driver. All that. It's a bunch of crap that I don't feel like getting into.
Okay, now let's also spiral. Let's spiral our way. Dietrich Dietrich, I think that's his name.
Dietrich Mateschitz. It looked like
Dietrich Mateschitz. I think that's his name. But okay, let's get into the other breaking news story of the past weekend. McLaren and Aerosmith Peterson IndyCar team are collaborating for next year.
McLaren.
Oh goodness! I hope it.
What do you guys have to say about McLaren and Aerosmith Peterson?
I did not see that. I expected a technical alliance, but I did not expect a complete merger.
Yeah, and Aerosmith Peterson will go to Chevrolet instead of being in Honda.
I'm surprised by that. But that is something I'm surprised by.
But guess who is staying? Guess who? Literally, Schmidt Peterson Motorsports. They forced Hinchcliffe to stay in a Chevrolet for their team.
Well, he's under contract.
Yeah, he's staying with Chevrolet. He's not. Yeah. He's not going to any other team. He's just staying. He's still staying at the same team.
I'm more shocked by they're still only going to field 2 cars. Like they're like, nope, we're only going to do 2 cars. I'm surprised by that. It's like, You got McLaren, who is arguably now has the most money in IndyCar now. And they're not going to open a third car. It doesn't. I feel like I'd be surprised if they actually show up to St. Petersburg next year with still only 2 cars. I just can't see them 2 cars.
And are they playing games with Alonso? Like,
my question.
Are they like? My question is: the door still open for Alonso in 2020 for the Indy 500?
I don't.
Well, in terms of McLaren.
Well, you know what happened last year with the paint not right, forced him to he lost practices and did not even make it.
They were sloppy all month of May long.
They literally got bumped by Kyle Kaiser.
Listen.
Too.
In a way, I feel like McLaren deserved it. I said it just a moment before. They are sloppy. They are sloppy. They didn't come prepared, and I think if you watch David Land on YouTube, I highly suggest you go back to his Indy 500 vlogs. He explains it better than I do, but McLaren deserved it. They got bumped. They weren't prepared. They didn't show up at St. Petersburg, Coda with Alonso, do some races, get something established, build a connection.
I mean, you got Zach Brown going around texting most people and be like, "Hey, where's the steering wheel?"
Like, it's just, I feel like the problem about that, I don't know if they'll be good with merging with Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports. Because, like, Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports has been good in a Honda power. But why is McLaren going at Chevrolet if they're...
I think they're going to have an advantage, though.
I will say this. Now that they're in the Chevrolet, they will have a better shot at the Indianapolis 500. Unless something changes next year, the Chevrolets have been the best engine at the Indy 500. So they got a better shot at the 500, which equating to qualifying, which both teams have struggled in recent years, obviously. We go back to 2018 and this year. That's going to make it a lot easier for them.
Right. Also about them. If there's a third car, who would drive the third car?
Here's what I think. I think you're going to be Hinchcliffe.
Yeah,
I think Jared Hildebrand will come back. And for a third one,
that's the problem.
I want to say Alonso, but I don't see him running the full season.
Yeah. But it's
I don't know who would run the third car, but just with a team like McLaren, a company like McLaren, to only field 2 cars in a merger, I just can't see that happening.
But it's like the problem is I'm hearing people saying about Robert Wickens, but Robert Wickens has to get his legs and his muscles back 100% because the injury last year that took him out of the rookie.
It's already been a year.
You know, it's going to be a year this Sunday.
Time flies, man.
But you know that Robert Wickens would actually won the rookie.
He still did.
He still did. What?
Yeah, he still did.
Well, I thought the other rookies.
He was like top 10. He was like top 10 or top 5 at points. The next nearest one was like Zach Veach, like in 18th.
Like Zach Veach, I feel like people talking about Zach Veach should stay. I don't know about Veach.
I say give Veach another year.
Yeah, I'll try he could do performance.
If they really want to get Herta into the Andretti stable, just swap them out.
Yeah.
If you really want to get him into the Andretti stable. But I say give Veach another year. And if Veach doesn't perform next year, then it's like, okay, yeah, 3 strikes, you're out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's everything. You guys got anything else you want to say?
Not really.
Please check out my Twitter at YT NASCAR. Please check out my Instagram at JustinTheBear88 and go check out my YouTube channel NASCAR88.
Make sure you go subscribe to my channel, Danny Aguirre 48, and follow me on Twitter at Lobos Danny.
Follow me on Twitter at JLP Snipes.
All right. Thank you for tuning into this edition of the Little Yellow Line podcast. Once again, thank you for Timmy for coming out to the podcast. Hopefully, we wish him great. We wish him a great future in his rise through the NASCAR ranks. Hopefully, we'll have him on sooner. Hopefully, we'll have him on again soon. Follow me on Instagram at velocity87_. Follow me on Twitter at 87velocity. Follow us on Twitter, as said before, at WR Media Group. Follow us on Instagram at World Racing Media. Follow us on Facebook at World Racing Media. Click the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know what to do. And remember, folks, to stay off the damn weed.
You guys are nuts.
Catch you guys on the flip side.
Yep. Peace.